What's up, everyone? Welcome to GameFace, episode 377 on Sifted Games at Sifted.net. I'm Shane Satterfield, your humble host for the show, and also the founder of Sifted. And I will say, feeling a little bit better than I did last week, but still not great. Matt, this madness is still going on.
Madness.
It is madness.
Madness.
It really is. So, update for you guys on what's going on with like our credit card processor and everything. We're in a waiting game right now. So we've basically disputed all the chargebacks and did all the paperwork for all that. At least so far, as I was driving here, 3 more chargebacks rolled in. But as based upon what we have so far, I've put in all the dispute requests. I'm just waiting for our processor to rule on them. The chances of us winning the dispute are slim to none, but I still did it. And then there's like other problems, like the credit card processor company sucks, and like we told them there were IDs that we couldn't refund and that they needed to do it and they didn't do it, and now chargebacks are coming in for those ID. I'm really starting to think that maybe our processor is on the hook here a little bit legally for some of this stuff that's going on.
I would think so.
Because they're not giving us the means to dispute the chargebacks, which is a big deal. So some of them are already, we did get like one already that we lost because we just weren't able to upload the proof of what happened. And so we're going back and forth with their customer service, and their customer service sucks. It's awful. But I'm not like fresh off devastation like I was for last week's show, so I'm feeling a little bit better. Also starting to get the hang a little bit of doing the show this way. I was just telling Matt before we went on air, I have anxiety before doing the show now because there's so many changes and things that I have to keep track of. And Matt brought up correctly that in a week or two, it'll be gone. I'll be able to do it, and it'll be like riding a bike. But right now, I'm still a little bit on edge, in addition to all the other stuff I've been dealing with away from this show. So I do want to say thank you to some people who went and pledged at our Patreon. Some of them were people who did get kicked off of our old subscription system, but some of them were just people from YouTube who were like, you know what? Now is the time for me to support Sifted and to support Shane and Matt. And some people got off the sidelines, and our Patreon went up a little bit, which is nice to see because it really had just kind of been sitting still for a while. So thanks to everybody who is trying to help in any way that they can. I appreciate it. I'll keep you guys in the loop on all this stuff as it gets updated and as it happens, but that's the latest that I have for you guys right now on the whole credit card hacking issue. Hopefully, in the not too distant future, we'll be able to put that behind us. Matt, how was your week this week?
All right. I don't think much happened really.
The weather here is a nightmare. I know we talked about it last week. It has really not stopped raining since last week. A couple days here and there, it got dry. It's so funny. We thought, we had a drought for like 8 years. Like, we have no drinking water. We're going to have to start buying water from like these other states or whatever. And now it has rained for like 2 years straight. Yeah. Remember last winter, how brutal last winter was? Oh, yeah. It's a lot like that this winter.
But you can't trust it because the California kind of irrigation and drainage system, especially in Southern California, is not built for it.
Yeah.
There's nowhere to capture that water.
Yep.
So it's going to be right back to the drought in 2 years. Anyway, it's infrastructure, as they say.
Yeah.
And that's that's a failing of California. Sacramento is just one of the most ridiculous, messy, corrupt places you ever. And that's not a political party thing. It's like either one, no matter
both
who's
sides,
in charge,
yeah.
it's all just
always been a
gigantic mess.
Yeah.
Probably because California is basically like the fourth or fifth largest economy on the planet.
It's basically a country.
It's basically its own country, but state governments aren't built to run that. So
yeah,
that's what you get.
Yep. So anyway, hope you guys are doing good. Hope the weather's better where you guys live. It's very rare that we are jealous of other people's weather.
I'm not.
You never are?
No.
Are you okay with the rain?
I'm fine with it. I come from San Francisco.
Yeah, that's true. We did get a lot more of it there than we get here. Yeah. That's for sure. So hopefully you guys are all doing good. You guys have had a good week. We have a great show today again. I know a lot of people looked at 2024 and they were like, that doesn't look like it's going to be a very good year. So far, it's been pretty damn good. Like, we've had plenty of games to talk about on GameFace. We have plenty today. We're going to talk about also...
plenty to talk about. I wouldn't say plenty of good.
That's a good point. Fair enough.
I will say, so a game today called Balatro came out today.
Balatro?
Yeah.
Oh, I saw that, actually.
It's on pretty much every platform. Hot take, Game of the Year candidate.
Really?
It is one of the best things I've played in a very long time.
Wow.
It is a poker roguelike.
Really?
Yes.
That sounds crazy.
It's
and awesome.
Amazing.
Do you like poker, Matt?
Yeah, I like poker.
Yeah.
But I especially like poker when you build a deck out of crazy like magical cards and have to like and modify them with Joker cards, and then you have to like hit a certain goal of money. But like you play the poker hands and it points them up, and then you can get multipliers, and the other cards like modify those multipliers. So like, you can add stuff to your deck. So you could have like a deck just like all hearts.
Oh,
and then you have cards that give you like plus 4 times 4 multiplier every time you play a heart. So all of a sudden it's like 4, 4, 4, 4, 4. And now all of a sudden, instead of making 400 points, you made 12,000 points. And that's how you beat the boss.
Interesting. That's kind of cool.
It's like $15.
Wow.
It's great.
I'll give it a look.
Super, super indie. But it's like, it's one of the nicest surprises I've had in a long, long time.
Wow.
Like, it's the best game I played since Spider-Man 2.
Wow. Oh my gosh. That's some big words from Matt Kai you just heard.
But
What's the game called again?
Balatro.
We will talk about that game in next week's show. I will also give it a
today.
spin. Okay.
So I played the demo during the Next Fest, and I was like, this is really good. One of my friends on Steam has played the demo for 15 hours.
Wow.
Because it's that good.
Wow, that's great. We'll have it in next week's show, I promise you. Poker. I used to like poker. My friends have become so serious into poker that I can't enjoy it anymore. So, for example, I go to Philadelphia for a big fantasy football draft every year over Labor Day weekend. And the league's been going for 27 years or whatever. We're all like best friends from college and from like the rave scene. We're all DJs and that kind of stuff. And we're all great friends. But they have all just become crazy poker heads. And at first it was cool. Like I'd jump on Poker Stars or whatever. We play online on Saturday nights or Sunday nights or whatever so we could hang out or whatever. But they have gone crazy. Like one of my really close friends, the guy who I've talked about before, who's a big rave DJ agent, he doesn't need to work anymore. And he has just become a professional poker player and plays in all these huge tournaments, ends up on television and stuff. Well, anyway, at the end of our draft last year, usually we finish the draft and we've been drinking all day and we're rowdy and then we play poker. Well, this year, it got to the point where I could no longer play poker with them because they had become too good and too serious about it that any little mistake I made, they were like, oh, and I just got tired of it. I was like, okay.
Yeah, high-end poker people get mad because like you can't play effectively against someone who doesn't know what they're doing.
Oh, they hate it. Yeah. And I actually play on that. I'm like, you think I'm stupid and I don't know what I'm doing. I'm going to use that against you. I've actually won tournaments like that against these people.
Yeah, you disrupt all poker strategy when you can't be predicted.
Exactly.
And like the weird thing about them is like people like that will blame you.
Oh, they blame me.
Like,
oh, yeah. That's why I quit playing.
No, I'm doing that because I know you need that to survive. And so he's like, well, that's not poker etiquette.
I've said that before, too.
Etiquette.
I'm like, I know that you think I don't know what I'm doing, and I use that against you. And they get mad. They don't want to play with me. And I could tell that they're getting irritated, so I just quit. Yep. And I was like, all right, cash me out. And I was like, I guess we're not doing this anymore after draft.
I mean, a bunch of my friends up north were doing that. We're into poker, but that was like when World Series of Poker got big, like 15 years ago. And every time I go, there'd be poker games and things like that. But that all basically faded away. It's not it's not cool anymore.
Not for my friends. It's even bigger
it takes
now
a while.
than ever.
It takes a while for the trends to hit central Pennsylvania.
That's true. So. Well, they're from Philly, actually, but still, it is slower there for sure. Let's check in with you guys and see what you guys are up to. Let's see. Vincent's explaining that the game you're talking about is like Slay the Spire, but it's actually poker. Link So Good says Balatro has got a lot of buzz. Hope the hype is real. Well, according to Matt, it definitely is.
It's a deck building game, which is Slay the Spire.
Okay. I've never played Slay the Spire, actually. Anyone playing Last Epoch? I'm not playing Last Epoch. What about you, Matt?
Nope. I don't even know what that
it's
is.
even further underground, really. Mike's Q says, stop complaining. We were on our third fall spring and second surprise winter back here in PA. So it has only snowed really one time in Pennsylvania this winter.
I'm sure that's fine.
That's crazy. I mean, that just doesn't happen. So, I don't know if it's climate, whatever it is out of the ordinary for sure.
I mean, it is El Nino this year, so it's going to be weird all around. But it's not normal.
Yep. Shane A28. Thank you for Twitch Prime. It's awesome. The Surly Mexican, thank you. Texture Glitch, thank you. And again, people who listen to this show on any of the podcast services or watch it on YouTube, particularly on YouTube, go down into the clip description below, and it will teach you how to help us with Twitch Prime. It's free. You can give us a free $2.50 every month just because you're an Amazon Prime subscriber. Mike's Q, thank you. What else we got here? AJ the Legend, thank you. Eric Scott, thank you. PTOR91, one of our biggest supporters, thank you very much. 14-month streak there. That's huge. So thanks, everybody. Hope you guys are all having an excellent week. And one thing I've noticed that I do not do with this new setup is scroll back down to the beginning of chat. I always forget, but I remembered this time. Hopefully I'll remember the rest of the show. Before we get on with the show, because we do have a big show, we have like 3 games, a big topic about Xbox going third party, and we got a pretty big housekeeping today. But first, we want to do something fun. So Justin Horman is also one of our biggest supporters and has been from the beginning. You may remember he sent me a Christmas gift. That was the new crazy expensive PlayStation 5 controller. And I talked about how I love it, but the battery life ain't great. Well, he sent Matt something for his birthday, and Matt has not opened it. He does not know what's in there, and we're going to open it live right here on GameFace. And a big thanks to Justin Horman for hooking it up. All right, Matt, give it an open. See what's in there. Feel free to wish Matt a happy birthday if you missed it last week. Sir Spider and Painted Demise, thank you for Twitch Prime.
That's heavy.
Uh-oh.
Seems to be books.
It does.
Marvel books.
What could it be?
Star Wars? Yeah.
Something. I see Darth Vader on the back.
Yeah, Star Wars The Empire Legends. So this is the old, was it Purge, Republic? Yeah, these are the old Dark Horse comics that are now done by Marvel, that take place between the prequels and the original movies.
Oh, really?
So it kind of tells the story of
Fills in the gap.
how the Republic fell and what happened after Order 66 and Vader hunting down Jedi and things like that.
Oh, cool.
They're good. They're a good series.
Do you already have it?
I have old copies of them.
You do? It's so hard to buy you anything.
It is hard.
Yeah.
But these are nicer, like kind of
Hardbacks.
These are nicer hardback collections of them. That's very cool.
Cool.
So
awesome.
Thank you, Justin.
Yeah, that's a freaking great gift. That's a very thoughtful gift for Matt, for sure. As someone who is consistently trying to find things to buy for Matt, it is impossible.
Actually, I don't know I don't think I do still have. I think I got rid of those. I read them back in the day, but there's a point where I purged most of my physical comic books.
Okay.
Because there's just no room for that anymore.
Yeah. Even in your house.
I brought some long boxes of my old X-Men stuff back from up north, and I don't really know what I'm going to do with them.
Yeah.
Like my mom, my sister wanted them out of the storage locker.
Yeah.
But I'm just like, I don't know. And so I'm like, I don't need these anymore. Then you open them up and you smell them, and you're like, oh, yeah. I won't sell them yet. And it's like,
that's all it takes. It's funny how those senses can be so powerful.
Oh, yeah.
Sense of smell and things that you wouldn't associate with.
Factory bulb is right next to where you store your memories.
Yeah.
So
yeah, it's pretty crazy. So Justin Horman, thank you, brother, for buying Matt a birthday gift. There's a round of applause for you. I don't even know if he's on the stream or not, but if he watches the archive, he'll see it and hear it. Noxatornitis, thank you for Twitch Prime. You guys are awesome. Thanks, everybody, for hooking us up. Cinetyke says, happy belated birthday. Cinetyke is asking, are those graphic novels or regular just text novels?
they're graphic novels. They're collections of monthly comics.
Okay.
That were put out back in the 2000s.
Okay.
In the after episode 3, basically.
Awesome.
They're pretty good. Also, if you can dig up the old Dark Horse Legends Clone Wars book, where they kind of filled in the Clone Wars gaps between episode 2 and 3, those are very good. None of them are canon anymore, but they're pretty cool.
Okay.
There was one story arc where Hayden Blackman, who wrote Force Unleashed and several other, and Mafia 3 and a number of other games, but he wrote an arc on a moon of Naboo where the Separatists had murdered literally every Gungan on it.
Oh.
And there were famously these huge double-page splash pages of just endless, like miles of dead Gungans rotting in like mud.
Oh, wow.
And stuff. And like that's where the whole book took place. And it was basically just like, if you hate Jar Jar, here you go. Like here's your favorite comic ever.
That's pretty great. So anyway, thanks again, Justin Horman, both for my Christmas gift and for Matt's birthday gift. It's really awesome of you to do that. So we appreciate it very much. And with that, I think it's time to get into the housekeeping. Again, lots of content in today's show, lots of stuff to get to. We're going to kick things off with housekeeping, talking about Switch 2. So this week, a story broke from a journalist in I believe Brazil. I think was the original person.
I think that's right.
Who posted it? And I should have written it down. We try to give credit to people who break stories here on GameFace at every chance we can. And I made the mistake of not writing down his name. He works for a small publication, but somehow he got word that the Switch 2 had been delayed out of 2024 and was going instead to be released in early 2025.
It was some third-party briefing thing, and he said that he had 5 independent sources confirming it.
Yeah.
So obviously we don't know much about him, but he really seemed sure.
Which still, for me, Matt, was not good enough. Mm-hmm. So when I first saw his story, I'll just be honest with you, we did not curate the story initially to Sifted. I'm usually pretty good at this stuff, figuring out whether sources are reliable or not. And just so you know, I am doing that with everything we put on Sifted. I am looking at it very closely, trying to figure out whether we should put it in front of you. So I was very reluctant to run it at first, and then Eurogamer came in and said, oh, we've been hearing the same thing, we heard the same thing. Essentially, 3 different outlets ended up corroborating the story. And Matt, it looks like Switch 2 is delayed out of 2024, putting obviously a huge crimp in my fantasy team. I drafted Metroid Prime 4 with my 10th pick. Drafted it 10th for a reason, knowing that this might happen.
Well, now you get
Skull and Bones. Quite a drop off.
Enjoy your 66.
Is it at 66? It went up a little bit?
Something like that, yeah.
We're going to talk about that game in a minute.
I got Helldivers too. That did okay.
Yeah. Well, for your alternate or for your...
first alternate.
First alternate.
But I'm sure I will.
You probably will need it, like we always do.
409,000 concurrent users over the weekend in Steam.
It's insane.
Like, that thing is burning the charts. It's the 24th most consecutive users in Steam history.
Yeah. I'm glad it's doing well because I'm selling my copy on eBay. I have no interest in playing it again. But that means that it'll sell easily.
I didn't even realize that they'd sold that physically.
Yeah, I got it at Best Buy.
Wow.
It's only $40. Yeah. So anyway, we got some news about Nintendo. It looks like the reason that they're saying is that this doesn't add up to me, Matt, honestly. They're saying that the reason is that Nintendo doesn't feel it has enough exclusive software ready for it. Does that not strike you as odd?
Not really. Like, if they're having delays on the software, like, I'm sure they had a plan, but like,
it's been 10 years since Mario Kart 8.
Yeah, well, it's not like they haven't been supporting it, so they've really been working on that for a few years. But but again, you got to come out of the gate with Mario Kart 9 flawless.
Yeah,
like, you got to nail. And who knows?
Metroid Prime 4.
Metroid Prime 4 only started redevelopment 5 years ago.
Only 5 years ago,
just like Silk Song.
It seems like they should have software ready for it.
I think, but spring next year is pretty close to the same thing. Also, like, this isn't really a delay because they never announced it.
Announced it, yeah.
Like, you can't delay something that has no actual date.
That's true.
It's just what everybody was expecting.
Well, there are other reports that said it was coming that were just as reliable as this one, saying that it was coming this year, so...
but I just think it's funny that people are like mad about this, like as though Nintendo did something wrong, where it's like they never fucking announced it.
They never said anything.
It's not like they announced it and said, "Oh, sorry, we got to move it back 6 months." Yeah. It's like they waited until they knew when they're putting it out to announce it. They haven't even announced it yet. What are you upset about? You're upset that you don't get to play the Switch stuff this year, sure, but like, what are you talking about? Like, they did it. They did everything right. Like, they didn't disappoint you. You disappointed yourself,
right? Because we all kind of fell for the fact that it was coming out this year. But again, there was reliable
a fair
reporting.
Assumption. Yeah, but like, it's just like, that stuff until it's official, you don't know until you get that pre-order in. Like, I don't believe it until it's in my hands, really.
Yeah. Well, then the big S factor becomes what happens to the second half of Switch for this year.
Yeah, better have some more remasters ready to go. I guess I don't know
exactly. There is.
This seems to be kind of a trend. Sony's got a similar thing going on, so I guess Microsoft's the only one with like
actually making games.
What kind of crazy topsy-turvy world?
It's the upside down world for sure. And then I don't know if it's just conveniently worked out this way, but there is also a Nintendo Direct tomorrow morning at 6 a.m. Pacific, 9 a.m. Eastern. That is all third parties. So it's a partner Nintendo Direct. I'm guessing Nintendo's going to rely on third parties to get them through the second half of the year.
Yeah.
Seems like it. But, third-party support is so abysmal on Switch.
Yeah, I don't know. Like, they've more streaming stuff of games that came out 4 years ago on the other platforms. Who knows?
Yeah.
Like, it is a downside if you don't have Nintendo stuff. Mm-hmm. And I'm sure there'll be other. I'm sure there's a Kirby game ready to go somewhere. Like, there's always a Kirby game ready to come out.
Kirby game. Nintendo has fallen into that trap before, for sure.
Yeah, we'll get a DLC pack up for Zelda. Well, I don't know. add some more levels to Wonder. Like, there's a bunch of stuff you can sort of
to try to stretch it across 6 months.
Yeah.
I mean, the first hint that this was happening was Nintendo saying in its financial report that it was relying on the first Switch to float the boat for this year. Mm-hmm. That was kind of the first time I was like, uh-oh, that's not encouraging if you're hoping for Switch in 2024. And as it turns out, it looks like we're not getting the Switch 2 in 2024. Any personal feelings about this at all?
No.
Yeah.
I mean, it saves me having to figure out how to pre-order the thing sooner.
Going through the hassle of trying to get one. Yeah, Nintendo is one of the big three that does still get semi-hardware, so hopefully I don't have to worry about that. But you never know. Things change. But anyway, if you're excited about Switch 2 in 2024, you might want to cool your jets because it does not look like it is coming, and it looks like it still might make the financial year, meaning come out before March 31st.
It sounds like they haven't moved it out of there, but like...
We'll see.
March was a good month to release the first one in, so why not?
I mean, you're right. It may just be replicating exactly what it did with...
Can't blame them for that.
Also, by the way, this news made Nintendo's stock tank. Despite that, Nintendo is still the most valuable company in Japan as of right now. It has over $11 billion, Matt, in cash.
Mm-hmm. They've always had crazy cash reserves.
Do you remember back in like the GameCube era, everybody thought, oh, the GameCube tanked, Nintendo's going out of business. And back then, Pimpe and Yamauchi was like, oh no, we got, back then they had $5 billion in cash. And he's like, we could run this company into the ground for the next 50 years with this amount of cash. Now they have double that. I mean, Nintendo's just a juggernaut.
Yeah.
It just is. It has played its cards right.
Well, they also, Nintendo doesn't really fall for the infinite growth nonsense. They don't chase trends.
Yeah.
They figure their own thing out. They want to come up with a way to, be in the market without having to compete with anybody else.
Yep.
And it's all mostly worked. I mean, that was also the thinking behind the Wii and the Wii U. That just didn't work out very well for the Wii U. Yeah, you can't argue with their success on that, and they've always kept cash reserves like crazy. Like that was a Yamauchi staple.
No, yeah.
And then
of course, pimp hand.
And they add, a lot of that $10 billion probably comes from the DS. Like the DS
still
printed money.
It really did. I mean, let's be honest. Other than the Wii U and the GameCube to an extent, Nintendo's kind of printed money.
Yeah, GameCube was really more like it was the second in a row that didn't dominate the generation, which
is why people were like, "Oh my gosh, what's happening?"
There were still people, hot off the Super Nintendo era who didn't know if Nintendo could survive if they weren't top dog.
Yeah.
Which was clearly not the case.
Yeah.
It does seem like they pivoted pretty hard in how they ran things once Nintendo 64 turned out to be what it was. Mm-hmm. But they kind of figured out how to operate in the shadows in that regard.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I don't think Nintendo is really vincible in any sense. Like they could fuck up for 3 generations and still be around if they wanted to.
Still laugh. Yeah, laugh it off.
And even on top of that, they've branched their IP out into movies now, and they're gonna have those income streams. They're fine. Yep. They're gonna be fine. They can do whatever the hell they want.
Yep, absolutely. So anyway, that's the latest on Switch 2. Again, looks like it's not coming out in 2024. You guys saying anything about this? Any questions you guys have about it? Just want to check real quick before we move on. Like to keep you guys involved. Vincent says the partner direct is supposed to be only the first half of 2024 stuff. Okay. Though there will be other teases. They did say I think it's 25 minutes long.
I'll see it later.
Yeah, I'm definitely. Yeah, we'll have it curated to sifted. I'm not going to probably be awake when it's actually happening, though. I'll just let you know right away. Some of y'all will be, because some of you guys are in Europe, so it won't really matter to you the time. But us folks in Europe or in the U.S., that's real early. Next up in housekeeping. We're going to switch gears from Nintendo to PlayStation. I saw somebody in chat mention that Nintendo and PlayStation right now are kind of on 2 different trajectories, although kind of similar, as you pointed out, because it seems like neither one of them is going to have a lot of software for this year. But PlayStation also posted its financials over the last week, and there was some weird stuff coming out of that, Matt. I was like, what is going on? So they still haven't appointed their new president, which is a little weird. I know Patrick keeps thinking that a female is going to be appointed to that position. We'll see how that works out. But they still don't have a president, so the VP is the one who's giving these financials. And I don't know if that has anything to do with the messaging here, just pointing it out. But some weird stuff coming. the first thing that kind of struck me as odd was that he mentioned that we are in the latter half of the PlayStation 5 life cycle. Mm-hmm. I mean, I guess if you look at the chronology of it, maybe, because we're at like year 3 or 4.
Year 3.5.
Yeah. So if it's a 7-year cycle, you're kind of at the middle there.
Yeah. I mean, that tracks, because you're going to if you put out the PlayStation 6 in 2026, that means Wolverine is a launch title, more or less.
Yeah. Or it'll straddle both,
right,
I guess.
It'll be both, but I mean, it'll
be there for long.
Miles Morales is going to be like, Wolverine's going to be your
kind of the same exact thing. Yep. So, I mean, the way it was phrased, it made it sound like he was saying, like, time is running out on PlayStation 5. Because some of the other things that he said...
I think he was just speaking of it the way they speak of it internally, and gamers aren't used to
that could be
that kind of talk. Because it's not like a doom and gloom thing. It's just like, yeah, this thing lasts about 6 years. They know that. 7 years. And... yeah, you're in the latter half of the PlayStation 5.
Yeah.
Like, it's not because it's...
We may be only a month into the latter half, but we are technically. Yeah. And then I think the bigger thing that at least hit me and probably hit most fans is that they also admitted, and I hate to use the word admitted, that's kind of a loaded word, but they stated that there are going to be no big first-party sequels coming out the rest of the fiscal year. So the rest of 2024 and the first couple months of 2025, no big sequels. So no Spider-Man, no God of War, none of the...
just game as a service new shit.
Yeah, pretty much. I mean, that seems to be what's happening there. Matt, it feels like for most platforms, that would be a death sentence. But it just feels like something that PlayStation just shrugs right off.
Yeah, well, because they're so far ahead. Like, like if you look at Twitter and you like people talking about this, people talking about it on a Reset Era, really anywhere, Reddit, like you'll find tons of people, even like just hardcore game people, are just like, I don't care because I play all my games on PlayStation. It's like, to them, Dragon's Dogma 2 is a PlayStation game,
right?
It doesn't matter. Like as long as they have something to play, they don't care if it specifically comes from Sony. Because they don't have an Xbox. They don't, a lot of them don't have a Switch, which is weird to me. But like, I mean, not that I'm a huge Switch proponent, but it's like, why wouldn't you want to play Nintendo stuff? I mean, that's why I have one. So yeah, I mean, as long as there's games coming out, PlayStation people don't generally care. Like, they've just got the system to play everything. That doesn't super apply to me because I play most stuff on PC. I was at this point because of the 4090, but like. Not Helldivers, though, because I didn't want kernel-level anti-cheat stuff fucking with my OS.
Yeah.
I'm a little shocked that many people are playing Helldivers 2 on PC when that is the anti-cheat.
Yeah, usually they rebel against that.
Yeah, but apparently it's just too good. Too good to pass up.
I'll never understand that game. I never will. I'm glad other people are enjoying it. I'll never understand it, though.
But definitely not just because it's a PlayStation exclusive. I didn't expect PC people to embrace that game the way they did, but they did.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, good for those guys. The team seems legit, and they're like, we don't want to do crazy, sell things, and we don't want to, we don't want to do PvP because we know what our strength is, and it's PvE, and also PvE leads to a less toxic community. Like, responsible. I'm into it. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I think PlayStation, they just know that, like, they are video games to so many people that it doesn't matter if it's their games or someone else's games coming out as long as something comes out. I mean,
it's a great position to be in.
You'd be shocked at how many people just think of Call of Duty as a PlayStation game.
No, you're right.
So it doesn't really matter.
It's pretty crazy, though. I mean, imagine if Nintendo didn't have any exclusives for... I mean, their third-party support isn't as good, so it would be more glaring.
I mean, I think they worded it carefully. Like, they didn't say no exclusives. They said no IP sequels.
Well, we know that third-party stuff like Silent Hill is coming, and
also, I mean,
Final Fantasy VII Rebirth.
There's probably some first-party stuff that's all,
that's not sequels.
The game as a service or original IP. Maybe people aren't as excited. People talk about how they want original IP, and then they're not excited when original IP shows up.
It's true, yeah.
It's probably significant that they said that after Helldivers 2 came out because that is still a sequel.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. I think it is probably a result of kind of that, that delay that caused so many things that were supposed to come out in 2022 to come out last year on top of all the things that were supposed to come out in 2023.
Yeah.
And now you got the teams that were supposed to put something out in 2022 got delayed by COVID and whatever. Like they don't have anything to put out now.
Yeah.
And also like the development times are just getting longer. Like you used to be able to expect reliably about a 2.5 year window between two games from the same team, and now it's more like 4 or 5
at least. Yeah.
So it's just
Yeah.
growing pains to some degree, but growing pains that are leading to shrinkage.
I do wonder though, like people in chat who maybe only own a PlayStation 5, do you care?
I don't know, because you haven't scrolled the chat down.
No, I always do this. Sorry, guys. Well, it's sorry for Matt, really. Legacy says, I'm not surprised by no sequels because they haven't announced it. Because they don't have to announce them. Like, you know there's another God of War coming. You know there's another Last of Us coming.
All you need to know is basically, all they need to say is this year.
Yeah.
Next year, like whatever.
I mean, they don't have to announce
it. And even then, they lie.
Yeah.
So, God of War was never coming out in 2021. We knew that. But, like, you say it because you want people to think it's coming.
Yep. And then Cinetite brings up something else that was revealed in the financial reporting, which is that PlayStation's operating margins were down to 6%. And they were 12 to 13% for years and years. One thing also that the VP mentioned was that PlayStation needs to work more with PC. So PlayStation's looking for these new revenue sources, basically.
Helldivers 2 is going to perk them up on that for sure.
That helps for sure. I mean, there's no doubt about it. That's a surprise to them, even. I mean, it was a surprise to the developers that this is happening. So,
I mean, hence why no one can get in the game.
Right. Yeah. Still. Yeah. It's still.
I think they're supposed to start fixing that today.
It's crazy. So
no one thought that game was going to sell like 3 million copies. Like that's
no way.
I mean, I like that game, but I would never have predicted that.
Me either. I don't think any. Oh, obviously the development team didn't even predict it. So.
No.
And then a couple of the other things that he mentioned was that overall the PlayStation 5 is slowing down, and sales this last fiscal year were a disappointment. Now, to be fair, their projections were really high. I think they projected like 25 million or something.
They really seem to think that ready availability of the console was going to lead to much ballooning sales, basically. And that
also
is not
feels
what
like
happened.
the channels weren't really flooded until like the holidays.
No, I mean it was there, but it wasn't like there.
Like the holidays, I went to stores, I saw piles.
Also, they're underestimating how many people got what they wanted. I mean, nobody waited 4 years to get a place. They found one way or the other. Even some of the I know people that paid $1,000 to a scalper. To get one,
I have relatives that did it.
Yeah,
and they're wealthy and they didn't care, but still they paid the scalpers. Which I was like, don't encourage the trolls. Like leave them alone. So sales disappointment according to PlayStation. The PlayStation 5 is, even though I think it's still tracking around where the PS4 is. Like
they just seem to expect something to explode more than
it's like capitalism, like you're talking about earlier. It always has to be better and bigger, and that leads to your stock getting beat up because PlayStation stock, since this financial report, has lost $10 billion of value. As a company, Sony has lost $10 billion of value.
Line has to go up
since this financial report.
It's very silly.
It really is.
It's a myth of capitalism that feels like it's become more prevalent in the last like 10, 15 years, which is weird for people who lived through 2008.
Right. Yeah.
But it's like, that's you're setting yourself up for failure on that. Like you want to dominate, a market, sure, but there's limits to every market.
Yeah.
And console games feels like maybe they hit it at this point until
really
something
does.
Like there was a huge expansion after 3D became a thing and online became a thing on the top of that, but there was always going to be there's only so many people that want to do that, and maybe 70% of the population is it.
Yeah.
You can make billions of dollars off that.
Yeah.
Like you do not need it's sort of like if you were it's
like you
weird.
make $5 billion this year,
like if
you
you
make $6 next year.
If you live in like a small town in like the frontier days in the old west, and you run the general store and you sell food and goods to every single person who lives in a 5-mile radius, that's your business.
Yeah,
like that's it. You make a good profit. You're doing all right. That's your business. Like no one back then was like, I need to open franchises in the next 4 towns over, or else like I'm never going to look good in front of the shareholder.
Right.
Like
yeah.
it's not.
It didn't happen.
Like sure, that's an option, but not everybody can do that.
Yeah.
And like every time you tell investors now just expect things to get more and more valuable because they're more and more greedy.
Yeah.
And it's like at a certain point, your IBM stock is going to pay this much out, and that's it. And if you want more of it, buy more of it because it's not going to get more valuable.
No, you're right.
Like, and that's sort of the realism. Some of these companies and a lot of the investors need to learn. It's like infinite growth is not as useful as something that just sits there and produces a set amount of money every year. Like, you can depend on Sony to make you this much money every single year, and some years are going to be better, some years are not. But generally, around
a couple percentages,
you can always count on that. And there are people in the world who would literally kill for that to be their business model.
I know. Yeah.
And
look at Apple's going through it right now.
Yeah.
It's like it's impossible for Apple any company to sustain that spike. It's impossible.
Well, look, I mean, that Apple Vision thing is that is the most desperate stab at expanding into some new non-existent market you could imagine. And sure, they've captured a bunch of cult people. And, the real test of any Apple hardware is the third iteration.
Right.
Because
that's when it's almost made for people like us.
Made for people like us, when it's more priced normally, when they've worked most of the kinks out of it. And as someone who has used Apple products since 1986, I will never buy an Apple thing that is 3.0 or under.
That's smart.
iPod, third one. iPhone, I think my first one was a 5 or a 6.
My first one was a 5.
You wait until that stuff's done, because otherwise you're just beta testing this shit.
Yeah.
Like, literally, the Apple Vision people running around with that are beta testing.
Yeah, for sure.
You're paying $3,500 for a dev kit.
Well, they only made 100,000 of them or something. They didn't make very many.
And they did well, obviously. But
they sold them all out. Yeah.
That is a luxury of a luxury.
I think maybe 15 years from now, that's going to be the iPhone. I think that's what they're doing.
That's what they're trying, and it might be, but it needs to be built into glasses. As long as you walk around looking like a fucking tool,
it'll never catch on.
Like the videos of the guys wearing them and getting out of like a Tesla Cybertruck, and you're like, man, that is just how nature says "do not touch," isn't it?
It's hilarious. So anyway, things are not going well in PlayStation land, and the final thing that he mentioned,
and a lot of the reason they're not going well is just they've set their own perceptions up weird.
Yeah, or I think the software planning's been poor.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know how much of that you could avoid just because, you're seeing pandemic resonance even today with that.
Yep.
But it doesn't matter to the consumer. Like, nobody at the retail level should you don't have to give them a break because you're bored playing your PlayStation because, Ghost of Tsushima 2 is not here yet.
Yeah. And then the final thing that they shared is that they don't think that they're going to be able to create price cuts for PlayStation 5 because
that doesn't surprise me.
Because the die in the console, they can't shrink it and make it smaller.
Yeah.
And generally, that's how you make consoles cheaper. You make them smaller, you can create more quickly.
Faster, you use less material to make them.
Yep.
Like that.
And that's how you generally lower a price of a console, and they're saying that's never going to happen with PS5.
Yeah.
So
that's not surprising.
Yeah, it's a little disappointing, but not surprising.
There was nothing, even when that thing launched, there was nothing in there that really could be made smaller.
Even as big as it is.
Yeah, it's ridiculous to say because of giant tower it is, but it's like, no, there's not much you could do to shrink that given how they designed it.
I mean, think about PCs that are of equal power. They're way bigger typically than the PS5.
Oh, yeah. So you had to carry that thing upstairs, you know.
So anyway, things are looking a little rough on the PlayStation end, but it doesn't matter. It just feels like PlayStation's bulletproof. It can just do whatever it wants.
They'll be back next year with more actual stuff. You know, it's a temporary lull.
Yeah.
And sure, like investors get panicky and run away, and you lose market share value. It's like, but they come back.
They do. Yep. Sometimes they just sell.
Infinite growth is a myth, but bouncing back is not.
Yeah.
So it'll be fine as soon as they put out the next big exclusive and it sells 10 million. At the very least, it's like you think nobody's coming back for Wolverine.
Right.
Like, that might be years from now, but it's like, hell, that trailer leaked again. The internal, it was an internal, almost proof of concept trailer, and it looked a lot better than the.
They've left the Wolverine. I don't know if you noticed, Matt. The Wolverine gameplay is still up on YouTube.
Yeah,
you can go watch it.
Well, there's nothing you can do about it.
Yeah, there aren't as many instances of it as you might think, though. When I searched for it, I thought I was just going to get page after page because it's a playable demo. You can play it yourself, which is why Insomniac can't zap it because they can't fingerprint it. Because as long as people play it and they play it differently, it'll never match up with the fingerprinting. There may be some cinematics in there they could match maybe and catch it, but there aren't as many videos on YouTube as you might think. I thought there'd be just thousands, but there's not that many.
Well, because actually not that many people care.
Yeah,
or even know
that's
about
what I was getting at.
And they're Insomniac and Sony know that like if they just don't talk about it anymore, it'll go away. And then nobody talks about it anymore.
Yeah,
but there's still this was an interesting trailer because it showed more polished, clearly not finished because the claws are still clipping through enemies and stuff. But it showed you how violent it's going to be and kind of all the little elements of that. It looks. Cool.
I think the game's looking pretty good.
Some of my friends who saw it were like, oh, that looks amazing. I'm like, wait till you see what it actually looks like.
Yeah.
That's not what it looks like.
It's still like 2 years away.
Yeah.
Yep. So anyway, that's the latest on PlayStation. We got a leak this week of a game I think most people who watch GameFace will be interested in. And a website called Insider Gaming broke the story first. And the funny part is they break a lot of stuff. Like, they have some really good connection. I feel bad for them. I mean, I think it shows you, though, that in this industry, breaking news, or in a lot of industries anymore, breaking news has very little value. Because you break the story, all it takes is one other person to be like, hey, look what I found on this website on Twitter, and the tweet is what gets promoted.
Yeah, I never see news from the original source.
It's terrible.
Most people don't care about the original source. They just kind of bleep over, even if the source is credited.
Yep.
They just like, no, I saw it on Twitter, and that's as far as it goes.
We dig, so we will make sure we always credit the source.
And like Last of Us Tonight always talks about how like if without local news sources, they wouldn't have anything to talk about because most of their sources are local news.
That's true.
And as local news disappears, there's less and less reporting on those things. And you're going to get less and less ability to see things at that level because that reporting from the ground is just not there.
Yeah, it's true.
Without things like inside gaming,
yeah.
Like where that wouldn't come from anyway. I guess Jeff Grubb would be a source for things.
Well, then it was corroborated by Jeff Grubb from Giant Bomb, and the story is that Respawn is working on a Mandalorian game. How excited were you when you heard about this, Matt?
Well, I'll wait and see what it is first.
Yeah?
Yeah.
I mean, my guess is...
Like, if it's a linear, story-driven shooter, meh. If it's like a Mandalorian simulator, yeah, now I'm interested.
Yeah, I mean, you bring up a good point. Because it could be one of two things. It could be something like Star Wars Jedi Fallen Order, which we're seeing right now. Or it could be something like Apex Legends or Call of Duty, which is where the studio's pedigree comes from.
Kind of free-for-all, or it could be a VR game or something. Who knows? Like,
all we know is that you play as a bounty hunter. Yeah. Shocker. And I guess the time setting, or the setting, the Galactic Empire has taken over. So you're operating in that type of an environment.
So it's not a Mandalorian game in that regard. So because Din is too young for that.
Yeah. I mean, I don't think it's going to have the same guy.
So, no, it's going to be... I might imagine you're going to create a Mandalorian and sort of play as a Mandalorian.
That'd be my guess. Although they did create their own character for Jedi.
Yeah, I mean, that would be a little unusual but I think the fact, because like a lot of the times when they create an actual character, they want to be able to cast that character in live action.
Yeah.
But like in the case of Mandalorian stuff, I think it's generic enough that you can you have everybody swap armor together because you don't really need to make a human.
Yeah.
If they're centering it on the Death Watch cult, they never remove their helmets.
Right.
So you just like pick a bunch of Mandalorian. You make a big guy with a Gatling gun or the flamethrower. You make a little guy with a jetpack and double pistol. You do whatever you want. Like there's a bunch of variations there. And you're just a Mandalorian somewhere in the background. You don't need to be all that important.
Yeah. I think people will be disappointed though if Grogu isn't in there somehow.
Oh, he wouldn't. Yeah.
But he probably won't be.
Not if it's during the Galactic Empire era. I mean, we don't even know where he is.
That
period of time. Probably in some imperial lab or something.
I'm still excited by the prospect of a great studio like Respawn making a new Star Wars game, though.
Sure.
I mean, it's exciting to think about. And obviously for me, I don't care one way or the other. Whether it's I like games like this, I also love first-person shooters, so I'm cool either way. But I think most Star Wars fans are probably like you. They prefer something more like this than a Call of Duty clone.
Yeah, I'm thinking kind of more of an Outlaws thing where you get to fly to different, get a job, fly to the planet,
open world,
find the target
kind of game.
They did a little bit of that in Bounty. Like, if you make this like Bounty Hunter, the Jango Fett game, fuck you. It's like that's not what a game needs to be.
I hardly remember that game at all.
There's a reason for that.
Yeah. I think I just excised it from my mind.
Yeah, it's not a bad attempt, but it's just not very good.
Yeah.
I actually thought of the Mandalorian game yesterday because I played the demo for that new Outland game or Outworld, whatever that thing, the sequel to the old PC game. Is it out?
It's been like 19 years in the making or whatever.
I like that game, but I can never remember the name. Outland?
It's not Outriders. So we've been talking about that game over the last couple of weeks.
Outland, Outworld, I don't remember.
I know what you're talking about.
But you have a jetpack in that, and we can fly around. And
open world game,
glide everywhere. And I'm like, you know what? And he's got a laser pistol.
Yeah.
And I'm just like, you know what? Like this is a pretty good Mandalorian game.
Yeah.
Really. Like, so maybe they do something
Outcast
like that.
Outcast Vincent reminds us. Yeah.
Yeah. Outcast. I like the first one a lot. The new one's
at first the new one was called like Outcast 2, and then they like took away the 2 for some reason.
Yeah, well, because it's a prequel.
Yeah,
so it's Outcast
subtitle.
Because the remake of the first one was called Outcast Second Contact.
Yeah,
because you are later, but like so this is like the first guy to ever be on the alien world or something. I don't know. I don't remember that first game well enough to know if it's really tied narratively too well, but. Yeah, maybe. I mean, I do hope it's I hope it's third person, and more of a explore, make your way in the galaxy sort of thing. But we'll see.
Yeah.
I mean, they got some other things to put out first.
Regardless, I think it's pretty exciting that they're working on a new one. Next up, we're almost done with housekeeping. Cliff Bleszinski, our old friend, who's been in the industry for a long time, the creator of Gears of War, among other things. Left the industry to start his own studio. The studio did not do well. Now he's just kind of dabbling in all kinds of stuff. We talked a couple weeks ago about how he was trying to get involved with working on Gear 6. Well, this week, he made a little bit of news on Twitter when he talked about how he was frustrated with the fact that people are calling Gears of War woke now. Woke. I hate that word, but he used it, and so we're going to quote him here. And he explained that if you go back and you look at Gears of War 3, it was just as woke as Gears of War 5 is. Gears 5, they got dropped of War.
Well, wasn't Gears 5 like years ago? Like, why are you suddenly complaining about Gears?
Well, I think Gears 6 should be shown pretty soon here, and I think a lot of people are starting to get excited for it or not excited for it, thinking about what happened with Gears 5. And so I just think there's been an uproar around it.
Well, the woke
recently.
thing is just because they're mad it stars a girl.
Pretty much.
That's all.
Yeah.
Like these are...
Well, it's not just a girl. There's a minority, and
there's always been minorities in this culture. A very diverse.
That was the point he was making. He's like, if go back and look at Gears of War 3 that he worked on, and he's like, it had just as diverse a cast. It was just as quote. It's just pathetic that we've reached a point where there are certain women. People who view diversity as bad, and they've tried to create a derogatory term for including other people.
Well, they've done it by co-opting a term that actually means aware of social inequality, which is extra funny.
It's just insane. So his point is that, no, the games haven't changed. Gears of War hasn't changed. You changed. You used to be okay with this stuff. Now, something has happened to you, and all of a sudden, you're not okay with it anymore.
Well, what happened is they were taken in by right-wing grifters.
Yeah, they've been radicalized, and a lot of them online by right-wing, as you say, right-wing grifters, and it has completely changed.
I mean, this week, earlier over the weekend, the trailer for the new X-Men series came out. The continuation of the old Fox animated series premieres today. And people are all mad because it's woke. And I'm like, it's the fucking X-Men. It's literally a civil rights metaphor.
That's all it has ever been.
The whole point of X-Men is anti-bigotry. It's always like you are literally the idiot in the background with a "No More Mutants" sign. Like that, you've become the Friends of Humanity,
and they were okay with it for the first 30 years of their life.
Well, because it wasn't right in your face. Like,
no,
yes,
it was.
No,
it was. Again, you are the one who has changed. Everybody else and everything else has stayed the same. Yeah. You are the one who has changed.
Yeah. Or you just didn't understand what you were reading, and
Possibly.
Now you do, and you're mad
that you were fooled.
Like I saw some guy.
It's like Rage Against the Machine. All these people now realize that, like, Rage Against.
What machine did you think they were raging against exactly? People say, I don't like that Green Day got political. I'm like, Green Day has been. Did you miss the American Idiot album? It was called American Idiot.
And it was about
about George Bush and the Republicans who put him in office. Like, what are you doing?
They just didn't listen to lyrics,
It's like you are dumb children. You are absolute children.
And then the funny part, too, about this whole thing, Matt, is somebody got into a discussion with me about this. They were trying to say that Cliffy B was, like, a douchebag for this. Like, they completely misread the whole situation. They thought that Cliff was saying, yeah, the new Gears is woke and I hate it. That is not what happened at all.
No.
That is not what happened. Cliff is woke.
Well, remember,
I hate to break it to y'all.
Well, remember, these people just see what they want to see. One of the big topics on Twitter this week was that there's a bunch of these idiots who don't think Starship Troopers is a satire of fascism. And the reason is because they're like, I think a lot of the things in the world of Starship Troopers are good ideas. It's like, well, then guess what, Homelander? I got news for you about your political leanings.
Yeah. I mean, this isn't just with Gears of War. This is the whole industry, Matt.
It's not the whole industry. It's the whole culture.
No, I mean the whole industry as far as, like, the whole industry has always been this way. And all these people were 1,000% fine with it until they were told that they should not be fine with it by somebody.
Mm-hmm. Well, I mean, it's the beginnings of it were like kind of the thing where they started every one of these idiots comes from this. The Venn diagram is a circle of the people complaining about this and the people complaining when, like, Anita Sarkeesian was just like, hey, maybe not every woman in a video game needs to have her tits hanging out.
Right. Yeah.
And all of a sudden that was an affront to the art form. And it's it's the same piece. It's like weirdos who made this medium their entire personality. Who that's why that's one of the reasons Stellar Blade is doing so well, because they're like, yeah, we made her ass nice to look at because we know you're going to look at her ass the whole time, and it was like, finally a video game that's not afraid to be a video game.
I mean, it's kind of funny because otherwise that game looks janky AF, but there's this group of people that are all over it.
Yeah, well, especially because, like, it's not like any of that went away. Did you play Nier
Automata? Yeah, it's always been
there.
Yeah,
that's always there. It's there if you need it.
So if you do want it, it's
porn games are on Steam and the Switch now. So why don't you just go do that?
In fact, I think that might be the only thing that's on Switch now, Matt.
It's certainly, I mean, scrolling through that store is just like, what in the world? I'm like, you remember when they couldn't put crosses in games on the NES, and now it's just like, oh, Hentai MILF Simulator 2.0 is finally on the Switch eShop.
Yeah, those walls have really broken down on Switch. So anyway,
maybe the walls should have stayed up. Because I can't find their actual releases anymore.
Right.
It's like, how far down do I got to scroll to find Fire Emblem?
It's so damn sluggish.
Yeah.
I mean, that's one thing they need to fix big time for the Switch too, is just make their eShop work so much better. It's so terrible.
Or at least have an Ethernet port on the dock, for God's sake.
So anyway, I hate to break it to y'all, like, Cliffy B is woke. Like,
yeah, Cliff's always been.
He's always been. I don't know where you guys have this fantasy in your mind that he's not, but he is, and that's the bottom line.
Yeah, all the people disappointed in his replies all the time. It's like, I can't believe you're like.
You care about people.
You're a liberal, and all. It's just like, where have you been? Like, he's like, I live in Raleigh. People,
how could you care about other people? I thought you were a good person.
Now, to be fair, Cliff did put on that kind of douchebag front.
I can see why people might have thought back in the day that he was like that.
Yeah, you could. His persona,
the dude huge part.
Yeah, dude huge persona. You could see him becoming like a MAGA guy,
right?
Maybe, but that was always like a character.
Well, I don't even think that was even him. I think people put that on him. Like, he got in shape and started going to the gym, and then all of a sudden people are like, wait a minute, gamers can't be ripped. Like, it's just so, our industry is so weird, Matt.
When he tried to, play it up as the cool guy, and and he mostly pulled it off, but if you talk to him, off camera, he's a giant dork.
Yeah, he's the same guy.
When he was in his dude huge era, it was probably, I think when I met him for real, I'm like, I think the first conversation I had with him was just like a 20-minute thing about Transformers. Like, no one was cool. Like, we weren't being cool.
Cliff works on musicals.
Yeah.
Like, do you really? A successful musical.
Yeah, Tony winning.
Do you really need to say anything else?
No.
Probably not.
Also, I don't know how many people that don't even know that. Like, I've seen Hadestown. Hadestown, super woke.
Yeah.
Like, just so you know.
I mean, he works on
and
musicals.
It's based on an ancient Greek myth. You're really up against the wall when it comes to, art.
Yeah.
If you don't like the woke thing, because I don't know how to tell you this, but
all the art,
most art,
and
that's why conservative media is so bad.
I hate to break it to you, all the people who make the games you like, who make the movies you like, who make the TVs you like, TV shows you like, who make the music that you like, all of them.
Yeah, pretty good bet.
Yeah,
most of the time,
90% sure they're all woke.
And that's one of the reasons all these same idiots, who are also the same idiots who tried to sell you NFTs, are all big on the AI thing. Because you don't have to pay woke people to make pretty pictures anymore. Yeah. You can just render a version of Spider-Man with 9 fingers for no good reason on one hand and call it a day.
Yep. So anyway, that's the latest on Cliff Bleszinski and Gears of War. Still woke, Gears of War. Next up...
More like Gears of Woke.
Yeah. That's pretty great. Next up, we got some information about Alan Wake 2. It was a Game of the Year contender from a lot of publications. Matt and I weren't quite as high on it as a lot of other places. It looks like you guys weren't all that high on it either, because as of right now, almost 5 months after release, Alan Wake 2 has sold just 1.3 million units.
Which is their fastest selling game of all time.
I was shocked to learn that, I would add. I couldn't believe that. But
they're real happy with it.
It's great. But I mean, okay, are you surprised it didn't sell more? I am.
Not really.
Really?
It's a niche horror game, and it's a sequel to something most people have never even heard of.
Yeah.
No, I'm not surprised.
I just figured because it was a Game of the Year candidate,
nobody knows
a lot of lists that
nobody knows that.
I mean, IGN 480 million uniques a month. Some people knew.
Right, but those 480 million uniques, a lot of those come from the same people.
No, they're uniques. That means it's a unique person every time. That's why that number is staggering, Matt. That they have 480 million uniques.
It's a different device every time.
No, uniques are a unique person. Yeah.
I don't know how you calculate that then.
They calculate it. The ComScore. That's what they do. That's their whole job.
All right, but what are they using for that?
They send a box into your home. It's just like any other rating system. They send a box in your home. They track what you do, and they know.
Oh, so it's an extrapolation.
Well, yeah, all ratings are that way.
So it doesn't really mean anything.
It does.
That's a very specific number for something that's an extrapolation. I
mean, it changes by month.
How many boxes are out there?
I don't know. I don't know that data.
See, that's what I want to know, because like the Nielsen boxes are so few of them that the viewing has become so granular that they're basically useless info now.
Matt, I have a friend who has a Nielsen box.
That's very.
I'm not even supposed to tell you that. He's like, I'm not supposed to tell you, and you're not supposed to tell anyone I have this, but he did anyway.
Back in the day, you had to keep a secret log and an actual paper diary about everything you watched and send it to them.
Yeah. Now it's all tracked.
Can you imagine anyone doing that much work for that for free today? It's like, what do you?
But I mean, that's how the world goes around. Like it or not, they use a very small, not very small, but a smaller group of people to extrapolate out the numbers.
I mean, theoretically, statistically significant, but again, I don't really believe that.
480 million uniques is a lot, man.
Like that's more than the number of people who live in the United States.
Yeah.
And again, like people don't. I mean, nobody knows what Game of the Year is outside of the very hardcore.
I mean, the game it just got a lot of hype.
But it really
in video game land.
It's in video game land only. No one knows this game outside of the hardcore game circles.
Right, but my point is that only
never broke out
1.3 million of us bought the game. That's way low to me.
But it's not very low for a horror game. Like that's about what these games do.
I mean, I guess unless you're Resident Evil or whatever.
Right. I mean, Resident Evil is different, but like you're sort of run of the mill. You know, even we don't know what Silent Hill sells
sacrilege,
anymore.
Matt, to call this run of the mill.
But it is to
us it was.
If you look at this,
to most people it was.
But also you have to get into it to understand why it's not run of the mill. If you just look at the footage of this game, it looks like every other horror game on the market.
Yeah,
and that's part of its problem.
Yeah.
There are some really cool ideas in here, but you don't see them in the promotional material, you know?
Cinetech brings up a good point that it was an Epic Game Store exclusive, and that turns people off.
It does. It was also you also can't buy it in a store.
Yeah, there is no retail. I mean, I wonder if they regret that now.
I don't mean from what they said before, it was the only way it could get made.
Really?
They just didn't have the funding to do a physical copy.
Interesting. I think that hurt it.
Probably.
Because do you remember? I went to try to find the physical version. No, I wasn't trying to find it. I was walking in a Target, and there was a group of 5 or 6 people trying to buy the game at the Target. And I walked up and said, there is no physical version. Yeah. And the worker there was like, oh, yeah, there is. I'm like, look in your catalog. No, there isn't one. And the people standing there are like, really?
But again...
Because that was like one of the first high-profile games to do that.
But also that speaks to my comment about how the messaging was terrible on this game. Yeah. It didn't break out of the very hardcore, minor, following the news everyday circles. Because those are people showing up the launch day to buy a horror game, an Alan Wake sequel. Those people know game stuff, right?
Yeah.
But they still didn't know that.
Yeah.
Like, that's terrible messaging.
Yeah.
Like, they screwed some things up there, and that may not have been their fault. Might have been the publisher. I don't know. Did they self-publish?
They did, yeah.
Okay.
Well, no, I think it was published by Epic.
Was Epic?
Yeah.
Okay.
Which maybe they're right, and maybe the game wouldn't have been made if Epic didn't step in and say, hey, we'll publish it, but it has to be exclusive to our storefront.
And we're not coughing up for physical copies.
Right,
so.
Yeah.
I mean, maybe you'll get like a limited run thing later or something like that. It wouldn't surprise me because it did do well enough.
Yeah.
You'd get something that, like, you know, you could balance that out. But, it doesn't surprise. That honestly is about right. And I thought it would sell more. It'll sell way more units. It won't sell obviously full price, but just like Control did. You know, Control didn't sell very well at the beginning either.
I wasn't that surprised at that one though.
I mean,
brand new IP.
I mean, Alan Wake 2 might as well be a brand new IP.
Yeah.
Like, nobody's ever heard of this fucking thing.
Long enough.
That's a 360 game exclusive that nobody really remembers.
Yeah.
To the point that, like, really, you don't even need to have played it to play this thing. Like, you know,
Yeah,
all you need to know, he's a writer in the Northwest.
Yeah.
That's it.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's about, you know, and Control ended up selling a fair amount of copies once the price dropped and kept dropping, and you could get it for $5 or whatever. You know, it became a pretty well-known game, widely played game. At this point, most of my casual friends have a copy of Control Ultimate Edition because you can get it for like $5 on everything.
Yeah, I've seen it.
And I'm sure Alan Wake 2 will kind of.
They've also given it away in
yeah.
various whatevers. Yeah.
Which is cool because it's like, that's a great game.
People should play that.
And people should play that.
That was my game of the year for the year it came out.
Yeah.
Granted, it was a really weak year, but
it was. But still, that's I mean, that Control I would put in the running for game of the year most years. I think I really liked it.
Yeah, nominee.
Not like a winner, but like I would think of it
in the
when
discussion.
I was thinking of the category.
Yeah. So anyway, Alan Wake 2. I mean, I'm not a huge fan of the game, but I know that a lot of you guys really liked it, and a lot of people really think it's a great game, and to me, it should sell more. So I'm hoping that as time goes on, Remedy does make more money off of this game. It probably deserves to.
I think people just don't know about it.
Yeah, it could be. And maybe they do a second round of marketing where they start running. I didn't see TV commercials for it or anything like that.
No, they didn't do anything very wide scale, though. No, and again, do not underestimate the importance of impulse buy purchases at Walmart.
No, you're right.
You know?
Yeah.
Like,
for sure.
That
still
box
a factor. Is cool. And then they look on their phone. Oh, game of the year, 9.7. It happens.
Yeah.
It definitely happens.
Or even like if you've got all that stupid crap on the front of the box. You know,
no, you're right.
It can count.
Yep. Yeah, I still remember when we got our first box at Game Trailers. We got our little logo on there with a little pull quote from our review for the first time.
I got one or two pull quotes, so I don't remember what they
actually had a bunch of them.
Yeah,
even before I left, there were several.
I had a couple of like things I wrote
that were your quotes,
but I can't remember what they were now.
Yeah.
I think one of them was Star Wars.
I remember my boss came in.
Not Force Unleashed though, because I didn't like that one.
My boss came in and shook my hand, patted me on the back. It was a milestone day for us here, and I was like, okay.
When I think of that kind of, I mostly think of the Batman Arkham City Game of the Year cover with just all the red text everywhere.
Yeah, it was a little extreme. And then for our final story for housekeeping in this week's episode is a story that broke this morning, courtesy of CNBC. It has two separate reporters that is saying that a PlayStation 5 Pro is absolutely real, and it's absolutely coming before the end of 2024 in preparation for Grand Theft Auto 6. What does that tell you?
It tells me that Grand Theft Auto 6 cannot run well on a PS5.
It made me a little nervous. Yep.
Also tells me that we are, in conjunction with the other news about how they're not going to do a price cut, $599 for the Pro.
It may be. So
the death price.
Yeah, it is a death price. For PlayStation in particular. Here's the thing. By now, we already got the PlayStation 4 Pro. It came in year 3 of the PlayStation 4's life cycle. We are past that now. We still don't have a PlayStation 5 Pro. So it is overdue. If, assuming PlayStation is going to continue with the cadence.
I mean, I would argue that it's not overdue in the sense that you haven't really had the performance issues that the 4 did.
That's true. Yeah.
The Pro was needed.
The
Pro was really needed when it came out.
This is like a luxury.
Yeah, this is like, hey, you want 60 sometimes, maybe?
Yeah.
Here you go.
Yeah.
But I mean, do you want GTA 5 to run well is a pretty damn good selling point.
Yeah. It is.
They'll get me.
Yeah. I mean, I may upgrade.
Especially because there's no PC version. So
yeah.
You're kind of stuck.
It does kind of neuter the Slim, but the Slim's going to stay there forever anyway. It's going to be the base model. It'll be a little bit cheaper. And you're right. The Pro's probably going to be $550, $600. Yep. Because as we mentioned earlier in the show, they can't drop the price of PS5 because of the way it was made. So, yeah. I mean, I will probably upgrade.
I mean, I remember the previous rumors and stuff were basically that the Pro would replace the PS5 as the main SKU, and like you hit a point where they just stopped making 5s, and once those were gone, that's the end of it.
Yeah.
The Pro is just the only PlayStation 5 you can buy now.
Yep.
Which makes sense.
Yeah, absolutely.
And then after you get rid of the old ones, you can maybe drop the price to $500 and call it a day.
Yeah.
But we'll see.
Yeah. So anyway, just an update. If you're thinking about buying a PlayStation 5 right now, you might want to wait if you're willing to plunk down a couple extra bucks to get that PS5 Pro. Again,
well, especially because I'd say especially if you plan on playing GTA.
Yeah. And
I'm going to guess this thing's going to run better on the Pro in a very noticeable
significant way. Also, just so you know, CNBC had sources in both Japan and the United States corroborating the story. So it is the clearest indicator so far that I've seen that the PS5 Pro is real and it's coming very soon. We've heard about this now for like a year. So it didn't come out of the blue, but a lot of the sources we had on this so far, I didn't trust 100%. This I trust a lot more. So looks like a PS5 Pro is coming. I guess the good news is there won't be a major sequel exclusive coming out before the PS5 Pro comes out. So maybe that will be helpful for you. Iliag X. Last of Us 2 on PS4 looks better than most PS5 games. This proves that we're at a point where game budgets matter more than hardware. I mean, we've kind of always known that. The more time you spend, the better the game's going to be. That's just the way it's always been.
If you have first-party support, if you can really write it to the metal.
Yeah, makes a big difference. So anyway, something to think about if you haven't bought a PS5, although it seems like most people at this point have made the decision. They've either bought the PS5 or they bought the Xbox Series X or S. I don't think there's a whole lot of people still sitting on the sidelines that run in our circles anyway.
Probably not.
I think most people on Sifted, you guys have probably decided, or you may have just decided, you know what, I'm going to take that money and I'm going to either build a new PC or I'm going to improve the PC that I have. I think
know
everyone,
some people that are waiting for a price cut on the PS5.
which is not coming.
Be waiting for a while.
Yep. Well, they can get the Pro.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, if they want it, they get the Pro, they're going to spend extra money.
That's true. Yep. But
that's the opposite of a
probably
price
worth
cut.
it though.
I would think so, but if the most popular Xbox is the S, people don't seem to care.
It's pretty bizarre. There's no doubt about it. So anyway, there you go. That is our housekeeping for GameFace 377. We're about to get into the bulk of the show where we're going to talk about Xbox going third party. But before we do that, here's a word from our sponsor, LS Cream. LS Cream is a fine cream liqueur created by fellow gamer and sifter Stevens Charles. It's inspired by an ancestral recipe from Haiti called Cray Mass, and a double gold winner for its original taste at the New York Wine and Spirit International Competition. LS Cream can be enjoyed on the rocks or as a mixer for drinks with its rich blend of fresh cream and neutral grain spirits with notes of coconut, vanilla, cinnamon, and nutmeg. It's great in coffee or to make espresso martinis. To learn more, discover amazing drink recipes, or to track down your own bottle using a handy store locator, head to creamls.com/sifted. That's creamls.com/sifted. I think what I love about LS Cream the most is how versatile it is. A lot of like alcohol, when I think about drinking it, like when I'm trapped inside and it's snowy or cold, or maybe I'm sitting by the fireplace, I don't think about drinking like a vodka and Red Bull when I'm doing stuff like that. LS Cream, though, you can make drinks with that liqueur that work in almost any situation.
Vodka Red Bull when you can't go outside is not a good idea.
It's a terrible idea. Just bouncing off the walls inside. It's a terrible idea. But Cream LS, or LS Cream, is so versatile. You can mix it with almost anything, and it makes it more delicious. You should really experiment with it.
Probably not Gatorade.
Gatorade, probably a little bit of a stretch.
Yeah.
That's one thing I would probably not mix it with. I would not mix it with anything like fruity. That's probably where I would draw the line.
Fruit. You're not going to make an LS Cream margarita.
No. Well, I don't know, actually.
I mean, maybe you can make something that involves salt.
Yeah.
But,
yeah.
I wouldn't use the margarita mix.
No, definitely not. That would not be a good idea. It would probably turn into like curds or something.
Yes,
I think scientifically it would not work very well.
You're doing a great job selling this.
Have you ever had a shot called a cement mixer?
Yeah.
So for you guys who don't know, it's this shot that comes in two parts, and you drink like the first part of it, and it actually kind of tastes a little bit like LS Cream. Mm-hmm. And then you drink like lime juice, and it turns like chemically, it turns it into this crazy cement in your mouth.
Yeah, it turns it almost like yogurt.
Yeah.
It's weird.
Yeah, I've only ever done...
It curdles the dairy in your mouth.
Yeah. I've only ever done like two of them or whatever. They're cool. They're fun to do.
Once was enough for me. I'm not a big curdled dairy person.
Yeah. Do not mix lime juice with your LS Cream. There's so many other things you can mix it with. Go to creamls.com/sifted to learn all the things that you can mix it with. There are tons of drink recipes there that make excellent use of this excellent liqueur. Again, go to creamls.com/sifted. And with that, it's time to get on with the show proper. We're going to kick things off talking about easily the biggest story of the year so far. We'll see if when we get to the end of the year if it's still the biggest news story of the year. But we finally got the confirmation that, in fact, Xbox is going third party. Some of its first party games are absolutely going to be released on other platforms. Matt, what stood out to you the most about this big event that happened on Thursday with Xbox?
I think how much they tried to limit it to just those 4 games and like leaving Starfield out, but then they would not commit to the bigger games not being part of this at some point. Like it felt very much like a pilot program, and that everything was theoretically on the table if it worked out in a certain way.
Yeah. I think what struck me the most is that, one, they said that, as you said, Starfield, Indiana Jones are not coming to other platforms.
Phil would not take those off the table.
He would
directly.
not.
He would not. Like people are like, well, is this? And he's like, well, I don't think it's a good idea to ever say nothing. Something should never. And and then he turned that around and was like, hey, like Sony should put their exclusives on our platform. And it's like, bro, Sony doesn't need to do that.
Yeah,
you know that.
You
right?
need to do that.
It was. There was an element of like, who are you fooling? To it,
well, he also left the door open for those 2 games to go to other platforms. He said, "I'll never say never."
Yeah, like not to be bad faith about it, but I'm just like, I'm like, who is this for? Like, I know that you know that I know that you're full of shit on it, right? It's like who are you talking to here that you think is going to believe the face value of what's being said?
I found it interesting that this is obviously a desperation move to generate more revenue and make more money. I was a little taken aback that Microsoft feels like it needs to do that.
Well, they just spent $70 billion.
I mean, I get that, but it's not like you're going to earn it back overnight. And if this is the concept, maybe they knew all along that if they did this, that this was what they were going to do.
I mean, I think it makes sense to like do that with, certainly after a certain period of time with games that you know are not going to move your hardware.
Yeah.
Is there a downside to putting Hi-Fi Rush on PlayStation right now? No, I don't think so. But, like, the fact that you won't say, no, you have to have an Xbox or an Xbox account on PC to play Elder Scrolls 6.
Yeah.
That's weird to me.
Yeah.
And, like, I wonder about the Indiana Jones thing, too, because, like, I know that, like, probably Lucasfilm and Disney would like as many people to be able to play that game as possible.
Yeah.
And I'm pretty sure when they signed the deal for this, it was not an exclusive because Bethesda hadn't been purchased yet.
Yep.
So it's interesting. I wonder what the behind the scenes on that is.
Well, I found it peculiar too. So,
like Grounded, like that makes sense to put on everything.
Yeah, I mean, it's really it's ridiculous. It hasn't been on everything. I mean, it never really drove a huge audience on Xbox.
It's been around for like 4 years now.
And that's the one thing he said. He said that our rule is that a game needs to be available for a full year before we even consider putting it on other platforms. Which, cool.
Sure,
I'm okay with that. A year's a lot of time.
A year is certainly enough time to. I mean, there's not going to be any more like exclusivity repercussions beyond that usually. Like beyond that, it becomes an inconvenience for the customer in a way that is more annoying than just realizing that you're going to need an Xbox for something.
Yeah. So he wouldn't name the games that were going to other platforms. He only said there are 4 games that we're sending to other platforms. The thing is, the press had already corroborated the story and knew exactly what the 4 games were. I don't know why he wouldn't just
like, there are 4 lights.
It's like, why didn't he just say it? Like, everybody knew already. And those 4 games...
This struck me as a damage control thing that they had not intended to talk about until much later.
Yep.
Like, because originally they said in the spring they'd clarify their strategy, and then all of a sudden it was next week we'll clarify our strategy.
Yeah.
So this strikes me as like, okay, we clearly need to tell the nerds something to calm them all down until we're ready to really lay it out. So I would expect more information in April or May on this that like feels more specific and more like an actual strategy.
Yeah.
Whereas this felt like a weird form of damage control and sort of like, everybody just calm down. It's not that...
Well, the 4 games that the press has corroborated that he wouldn't share are Hi-Fi Rush, Grounded, Pentiment, and Sea of Thieves. I don't think anyone's going to lose any sleep over those.
No. Well, I mean, they will, because it turns out that the Xbox people are crazy. The console war stuff, like having just sort of reintroduced myself to it recently, I'm like, oh, y'all nuts. Like, even in a way that we weren't nuts with like the Genesis Super Nintendo wars. It's just like, it's all so nebulous now that who cares?
Yeah.
Not only is it nebulous, but it's over. Like, Xbox ain't catching this shit.
Yeah.
At least back in the Genesis Super Nintendo games, it was a neck and neck thing. But like the Xbox people are like, you're like a TurboGrafx fan. Like, it's not going to happen.
Yeah,
like, I'm not saying the TurboGrafx is a bad system.
It just wasn't going to win.
It's just not going to win. It's not in the conversation. Like, come on.
Yeah, it's been eye-opening.
But it really feels like they do not want to talk about this until after fiscal is over.
It seems that way. Yeah. I'm just surprised. It's Microsoft, and it feels like Microsoft is like searching the couch cushions for quarters and pennies or whatever. It just seems weird.
I mean, it makes sense to me, just in the sense that, like, who cares?
Big outlay, gotta offset it somehow.
Gotta offset it somehow. Also, you're just leaving money on the table there, and you're already in that boat anyway because of what you had to agree to for Call of Duty.
Yeah.
So as long as that's going to be something you're doing anyway, you might as well do it with everything that isn't what you think is essential to keeping your hardware on the shelf.
Yep.
And even then, like, you know, why shouldn't everybody get to play Elder Scrolls when it comes down? You know, like, you're gonna do big sales on that, or maybe you wait more than a year on that. Maybe you wait until all the DLC's done and the Game of the Year version goes out on everything. Mm-hmm. You know, something like that.
Yeah.
When the hype is over and the game is done, essentially.
I mean, a year is about usually when that happens. So I think they've got the timing right. I think fans maybe would have been a little happier with 18 months instead of 12. That's kind of the...
Yeah, but that's more of a fanboy thing than an actual business thing.
Yeah.
So,
but I mean, that's what we're talking about here, right?
Well, not for them.
Like, I mean, for the fanboys are the ones who are angry about this.
Yeah, but I don't care what they think.
But Microsoft kind of does.
Yeah.
Which is why they probably did this.
They're still going to be there anyway. It's like,
they are. They're not going anywhere. That's one thing we found out through all of this, really.
The first thing you got to learn about being a hardcore fan of anything is you don't matter anymore.
Yeah.
Because you're always going to be there.
Yeah.
And nothing can please you anyway, so they're not going to try.
Yeah. And then...
What are you going to do? Not play Elder Scrolls 6?
Yeah.
Sit down.
Right. One of the more surprising things I thought was that they also made a point to say that they are not getting out of the hardware business, which I can understand why they would think that now. But I would also think that they would keep their mind open and be like, you know what, that may be something on down the road.
I think they will. I think that is true, but you're not going to say that right before you do your investor calls.
Right. Or when you're still selling a console. Right. You still want to sell them.
But more, you don't want to have a sudden drop right in March when you're about to hit your end of your fiscal. Like, there's a lot of business play
going behind the scenes. But they did say, and this seems crazy to me, that the next Xbox console will be the biggest leap from one generation to the next ever. That is what they're targeting with the next Xbox. That doesn't even seem feasible to me. I don't know how that's even possible. That defies the laws of physics.
Yeah, I mean, the biggest leap is
2D to 3D.
Super Nintendo to N64. Yeah. Like, or at the very least, like, I mean, look, if you could pull off a PlayStation 1 to Dreamcast leap, I'd be pretty impressed at this point.
Yeah.
Like, Hell
yeah. That's huge. It's a huge leap.
Like, I went back and played some PlayStation 1 stuff this past week, just out of like curiosity and fun, just because, like, what else am I doing, right?
Yeah.
All those games look like shit.
Oh yeah, they're awful.
Like, except the 2D, because
shaky textures.
Because the original thing I went back to play some Suikoden because the guy who directed Suikoden
passed away. Yeah.
And Ayuden Chronicles. It's a shame he won't get to see that released. Yeah. But like, because I already had the hardware there, I was like, well, as long as the PlayStation 3 is hooked up, I might as well play some other stuff. I put a bunch. I can't even tell what the fuck I'm looking at.
It's awful
at the time.
Yeah.
And it's like. Yeah, like, and back at the time, I predicted, like, I'm like, these games are all going to age terribly. Yeah, because with the exception of, like, Metal Gear Solid.
Even N64 games have aged poorly.
N64 games, though, kind of, for some reason, they hold a little better.
Yeah, because the graphics aren't being pulled apart in front of your very eyes.
The dithering. It's the dithering for me. It's like, I'm like, oh my God. Like,
the texture jitter on PlayStation 1, I could never deal with. It's just
and now that's like a nostalgia thing for
D-makes,
But, like, and then the jump happened to Dreamcast. I'm like, okay, these are games that are still going to look acceptable to the eye in 20 years.
Yeah.
Whereas that first generation just isn't.
Yeah, it doesn't. So I think they may regret this, Matt, that statement about making the next Xbox the biggest leap ever. I think that was a huge mistake to say that publicly.
I think if you just don't say that again, people forget.
They might. I would advise from the Duh Consulting Agency that Microsoft never utter those words ever again, because... unless they're magicians.
Yeah, or if you mean it, like, what are you talking about?
Yeah.
Like, what are you doing?
Yeah.
Like, are you just talking about hardware?
Are you going to release a $1,500 console?
Right. You putting out a 4090 in this thing? Or are you going to add in, like,
even then,
is it going to come with Apple Vision? Like, what are you talking about, a Kinect 3
I don't
kind
know.
of thing? Like, what is going on? Like, you're making me concerned
I hear
when you say that.
I feel the same way. Yeah.
Because that doesn't sound like we're going full raw power. It sounds like we're coming up with a stupid gimmick.
Maybe.
You know, because I remember how much extra I had to pay for the Xbox One for that stupid Kinect.
Yeah.
It's still in a drawer somewhere. Maybe I just literally threw that in the trash. I don't remember.
I don't even think a 4090 would be the leap that they're talking about.
Not by then. No, not 3 years from now.
Especially not by then. So, I don't know. I think that was really stupid to say that. And then they also announced that Game Pass, as of right now, is not coming to Switch or PlayStation 5. It was also revealed around the same time that they now have 34 million Game Pass subscribers. The catch there, that sounds okay. The catch there is that all the Game Pass core people are rolled into that number. Meaning the people who are just Xbox Live customers. They changed the name of it to Game Pass Core. Those people are also included in the 34 million. And really, Matt, what has happened is over the last 2 years, the growth of Game Pass has like flatlined. That to me is, of all of this information, that to me is the one that struck me the hardest, because this is their plan.
Yeah, well, they better not be buying into the infinite growth thing. You hit a plateau, that's where you end up. Is it enough money for you? If
the
not,
truth is,
you got to figure out something else.
The
other thing they're figuring out is to try to spread it to the other platforms.
The truth is, they make almost $500 million or over $500 million a month off of Game Pass,
which you'd think would be good enough.
You would think, yeah. That's a lot.
But is it a lot to Microsoft?
Well, when you're not making money off of your software sales anymore, it may not be all that much.
Yeah.
Because they're not selling their games anymore, as evidenced by the fact that a lot of retailers in Europe are removing Xbox Series games from their stores.
Also, remember, like that. So that's just what they're making is their revenue, right? So we don't know what their operating costs are.
That's completely disrespecting their actual overhead.
So maybe after operating costs, their profit is about what it costs to make a AAA game now.
It's possible.
It's not bad. But it's probably not what a giant megacorp like Microsoft expects their game division to pull in.
Yep.
You know?
Yeah.
Especially when you're laying out the amount of money you are for the projects that the in-house stuff are making.
Yeah.
Like how much money, and part of that is just like, much like Hollywood, y'all got to stop spending $200 million on this thing. Like and that's harder with games, and it makes a little more sense with games because they cost more than a movie ticket. But like the budgets are really the main thing that's out of control right now in all of entertainment. And it's like if you make an $80 million, it's like, the Creator did not do very well, but it looks as good as anything else. Godzilla -1 might win an Oscar for its visual effects, and apparently they spent $5 million on those.
Yeah. That's crazy.
That's like a day's worth of budget for like a Marvel movie of effects. Like that's crazy. So like the thing is, the Creator costs like $80 million. It looks amazing. It's not very good, I don't think, and it didn't do tremendously well. But you know what? They only spent $80 million on it.
Yeah.
So it's not going to bankrupt anyone.
No, you're right.
Same thing with Madam Web. Madam Web is apparently I haven't seen it. Apparently it's the worst thing
ever.
It
seems.
Maybe. Yeah. But it made $25 million over the weekend, and that's not great. But that movie cost like $70 million.
Yeah.
And over time, plus streaming, plus home video, like they're going to make that money back.
Well,
like would they rather make a lot more? Sure. But like, that's not going to lose Sony Pictures money in the end, despite how terrible it is. Same thing with Craven. Same thing with Morbius. Like if you budget for disaster, you can pull it off. And like, I think Xbox should probably start budgeting for disaster in some of these cases.
Yeah. Well, to your point, PlayStation, we actually left this out. One of the things they said, and they're doing, is they're cutting the budgets of their first-party teams. They issued a statement just today saying that Bungie needs to get itself together, that it's wasting too much money, and that they're not going to sit back and let them keep wasting money and blow through their budgets to develop games. So, I don't know, Matt. It feels like there's a tide turning here against the $300 million video game.
Oh, yeah, it has to.
I think it's a necessity.
Well, we've been saying for years, like, you can't keep making these big bets on these tentpole things, because eventually one thing's going to fall through. I mean, look what happened to Sony Bend.
Yeah.
I mean, it's not like Days Gone... That's the name of that game, right?
Yep.
Yeah. It's not like Days Gone was like a Last of Us level budget, but it's like they spent a lot of money on that.
It's probably 150 mil.
It didn't really... You're just keeping the lights on for a year, 2 years, 3 years.
Adds up.
Takes a lot of money.
It does, yeah.
Like the people talk about... I mean, I'm not going to sit here and defend Chris Roberts and Star Citizen, but people are like, oh my God, how do they spend all these... made almost $1 billion in 10 years. Like, that's about what it costs to keep a game development studio running for that long.
Yeah,
like
it does.
Like
you average 100K per employee.
Yeah, I 100% believe that they are spending all that money to keep the operation going.
Yeah.
They're just not doing anything.
There's
no output, right?
Yeah.
But it's like, it's not a money, it's not a money laundering scheme, because like that's a reasonable budget for a AAA game.
Mm-hmm.
But like, one of the things is like maybe Bungie could start putting things out in every year or every 2 years instead of waiting half a decade, right?
Yeah,
but
I hear you, but
that's the thing. Is like Star Citizen wouldn't cost as much as it did if it came out when it said it was going to come out,
right.
which is 2014.
Right. That's insane. Yeah. So they said no Game Pass for Switch or PS5, although I think that's only because Switch and PS5 don't want Game Pass.
Yeah. Well, and also it's because it's February.
Yeah.
Let's see what they say in May.
Right. Yeah. Well, I wrote a big editorial that ran over the weekend on Sifted where I basically said, like, why does Xbox want to make consoles anymore? Because if the goal is to grow Game Pass into this beast, you're just hurting yourself by running a console. The problem for them is
you're laying out a loss leader for no real discernible reason beyond like you've had an Xbox console out there for 20 years.
There's really no reason for it. Because,
but like maybe you make that a subscription brand now and not a hardware brand.
Yeah, because here's the other thing is Nintendo and Sony, they're not going to let you put Game Pass on there because you're a competitor.
Right.
If you stop making consoles, you're not competing with them in that space, they're going to be way more likely to put Game Pass on their platforms. And if that's your goal, creating a console is actually a detriment to your goal.
Yeah. And the DNA of Microsoft is they are a software company.
Yeah.
They are an OS maker, really.
Yeah.
And you know who could use some help with their OS? Sony.
And Nintendo, let's be honest.
And Nintendo, for sure. Yeah, maybe you could make the eShop run a little faster.
It's possible. So anyway, the whole Xbox business right now makes no sense to me at all. At all. Especially after I see that Game Pass isn't growing that much anymore.
I think you've just caught them in a transitional period and they don't want to kill you right now.
It's possible.
I think they're just in the middle of a bunch of reorganization through necessity. And at some point, it's going to come due, even if they do pivot fully to a subscription software kind of environment model over hardware. At some point, someone's going to have to look at this huge stable of first-party developers they've put together and wonder if it's necessary. And that means a whole lot of other people are going to lose their jobs.
I don't even want to go there.
That might be years down the road.
Yeah, but it could happen.
Obviously that's always a risk. Certainly this year.
Yeah, for sure.
But it doesn't matter how well you do. It seems because you still might get shut down.
Yeah.
So I don't know. It's like I kind of see what they're doing, and it's not like they have a lot of choices because they have ended up in the situation they're in. But a lot of it feels like if you were going to do this, you should have made this decision years ago.
Right. Yeah. They've been trying to straddle both sides of the fence this whole time.
Like more and more, it feels like Phil Spencer isn't really making the wrong choices, but it really feels like he's making them too late.
Yeah. He's not. He's being reactive instead of proactive.
Right.
He's been that way all along. He's always been reactive instead of proactive.
And you can't do that when you're. And I'm as a reactive person, I do understand that as like, I'm going to wait and see what the situation is and then make the right tactical move. You can't really do that when you're losing.
It's hard to be a leader. With that strategy. Yeah.
Or like you can be a leader, but you just have to have enough cushion that you can take a hit if you call it wrong.
Right.
And Sony and Nintendo have that. Microsoft does not.
Yeah. It's kind of burned through a lot of goodwill with the general consumer, I think.
And I mean, a lot of the problems come from that, the Xbox One era where the execs of the other departments took over and kind of, frame fucked the Xbox
over the game
into being like something that was useless for what it was, primarily supposed to be doing.
Yeah.
And they've been playing catch up ever since. But I just, more and more, it feels like Spencer should have been able to. He needed to be more agile about this way earlier.
I agree.
And some of that is slowed down by the legal ramifications and processes of purchasing these developers and all that. That does happen.
Yeah.
But it's just like, I don't know. It's easy to armchair quarterback it from where we are, obviously. But it's like it just feels like it should have happened faster.
I've been criticizing Phil for a while.
You have. But it's like, I don't know. Like it just feels a little too late at this point. Yep. And I see the strategy. I understand what you're doing, but it's also like I guess I just like, does he ever sit up at night and just like feel despair over like there's no way this is gonna work? Like how the fuck
he
is
works
this
at Microsoft. I mean, you're talking about like the buffer. They have the world's biggest buffer.
True. But that's not going to save him.
It won't save his job
if they decide that he's not doing it well.
Yeah.
And
that could keep him awake at night. You're right. A couple other things that were shared. Diablo 4 coming to Game Pass on March 28th. Finally, we're seeing one of the games from the big acquisitions coming onto Game Pass. This game, how long has it been out now? 6 months? Longer than that, maybe?
Like June.
Feels right.
Last year?
Yeah, so I guess it's been more than that. You comfortable with Diablo going to Game Pass now?
I don't care. Yeah.
Imagine you're somebody who bought it full price 8 months ago. You think those people are okay? Oh, you did?
Yeah.
You're okay with it coming to Game Pass that quickly?
I get to play it for 8 months before it happens.
Yeah. I'm done with it. I know a lot of people aren't. But I am. I'm not going to play through the whole post game and all this.
I feel like I got my money's worth in this game.
Yeah, I played the campaign for like 40 hours or whatever. I'm like, I'm good. Yeah. Like, if I spend full price for that, I'm totally fine with it. So I have no problem with it coming to Game Pass either. I do wonder if dyed-in-the-wool Xbox fans feel the way that we do about it, but...
Xbox fans are probably excited about it, but if you don't have the game already.
Yeah, well, I guess the truth is, if you're a dyed-in-the-wool Xbox fan, then you're a champion of Game Pass. So you should be very happy that this game has come to Game Pass, because that's them fulfilling what they said they were going to do.
So, like, you buy the thing at launch, you can't be upset when it's half price, 6 months later.
That's absolutely true. Some rumors came through today from The Verge that Microsoft may be working on a handheld. How do you feel about that? Because I think this is an extension of... And one thing I didn't mention when we were talking about Xbox consoles is the other problem with Game Pass for them is that Game Pass is on the industry's least popular platform. Mm-hmm. You're trying to base your whole business model on something that has to run on a platform that nobody has. Now, PC, obviously, it works on PC as well, but you look at like the install base of Nintendo or PlayStation, they destroy Xbox. If you want Game Pass to be what you think and you said it's going to be, it needs to be on more successful platforms. I think that's where this is coming in, where Microsoft is like, hey, maybe if we make our own version of the Steam Deck, then we have a whole new audience that we can then sell Game Pass to, and we get Game Pass working on the handheld and blah, blah, blah. The other thing, too, about Game Pass is, you could maybe make a portable Xbox Series S at this point. Series S is small, man. Have you ever seen one?
Yeah.
The first time I saw one, I was shocked at how little they were. I was like, whoa, I didn't realize they looked bigger than that when I saw them on video or whatever.
I guess I don't think this is a good idea.
Yeah, I think ultimately Microsoft will also think it's not a good idea.
Yeah, because it's like, why would you buy this and not a Steam Deck?
That, and just because you can also, so why don't you just get Game Pass working on the Steam Deck? That to me is the real solution here. Why would you go back into more hardware?
Valve's never going to want to get involved with that.
Right, because they want
you to
Steam.
buy the game.
But you could partner with some, because there's like 4 Steam Decks now. Mm-hmm. So you could partner with all the other ones, like the Lenovo one and all the other ones that are coming out.
It'd be better to hook up with, but then Valve could pull Steam support from those.
Yeah, as retaliation. Yeah, it could get dirty.
I
agree with you. I don't think it's happening.
Yeah, it's too crowded already.
Yep. And then the final bit of Microsoft news from this week is that they are holding an E3 press conference in June. Mm-hmm. Even though E3 is gone for good, looks like Summer Games Fest is just going to roll right in and take over for E3, and they're having a big press conference in June just like they normally would, which is great. I'm glad Microsoft announced it already, because now other publishers who are thinking about it, should we do stuff in June now? They're more likely to do it. So that's good news to me. I'm glad that there's still going to be some semblance of an E3 going forward. I kind of assumed it would be.
It's the right time of year to start announcing some things, because you want to talk about the second half of the year. It's about, there's a reason E3 took place when it did.
Yeah.
Once it settled out and stopped being anywhere from early May to late June, which was weird. So it makes sense that people are still going to have something to say at that time. Nintendo will do something around the same time as well, I'm sure, because they're going to need to explain what their second half of the year strategy is.
Yeah.
Schedule, at least.
Yeah.
So, it makes sense.
Yeah. And that's pretty much all the information that we got from the big Microsoft event last Thursday. Let's see what you guys are saying about this stuff. This is a big deal. I know one thing, my editorial on Sifted generated a ton of traffic and a ton of comments. And thank you. I just appreciate that you guys read something, because it seems like, seriously, I'm not meaning because you can't read or what I'm saying is people just want to watch video anymore. Right. And this was part of our new Fridays of content where you don't know what you're going to get on Fridays. And I wrote something and I was like, I wonder if people are going to care, if they're going to be like, oh, Shane just wrote something, I'm not going to read it. No, you guys absolutely read it. Thank you all for the positive feedback and for reading that editorial. I really appreciate it. For those of you who are not patrons or subscribers, that editorial will be free here in the next day or two if you're a basic user on Sifted. Let's take a look at what you guys are saying. Eth Demon says, Steam Deck is an open platform. People have gotten Game Pass working on it. Okay. I mean, that is kind of true. Like, wouldn't it be betraying like Valve's values if it were to be a jerk like that?
Oh yeah, but I'm not saying it wouldn't happen.
Yeah, you're
right.
right.
800-pound gorilla can do whatever it wants.
You're right. Yeah. As always, if you guys want us to address your comments, go at Sifted Games. That's how we find them in the chat. Cinetyke says on Xbox's January Developer Direct, the games shown presented pretty good. Do you think those will move the needle this year? I'm really starting to wonder, Matt, if there's anything that Xbox can do.
No, I mean,
software-wise.
I mean, I'm looking forward to a lot of those games, but in terms of moving the mainstream needle into, like, no. I don't see anything in there really doing that. It's weird to the things that like do well and like what was the one of the other things they talked about this week was that Forza Horizon 5 adds like 1 to 2 million new players every 2 months or something.
Really?
Like Forza Horizon 5 is like kicking Forza Motorsport's ass.
Well, I mean, that's
a lot more fun.
It's a way better game, yeah.
But like Forza Horizon is one of their big winners.
Yeah, that's great. In Game Pass, you mean?
In general,
yeah.
In general, but also Game Pass for sure.
Timbo, thank you for
a lot of
Prime.
those new players are Game Pass players.
Yeah.
Hopefully they got another one this year because that seems to be one of their only sure bets.
Vincent asked, could they make a console that's $1,000 and still have like the S equivalent, a cheaper one?
I mean, they could. I don't know if that's a great idea, but like, yeah.
I think it'd be a terrible idea.
Nothing's stopping them.
Yeah. Mitchell Ness, thank you for Twitch Prime. Erebus Jones, Microsoft have gone all in on Gen AI. I bet that's what he means.
No, that could be true.
Yeah.
Again, every once in a while, you can't forget that a lot of times when they talk about stuff like that at Microsoft, they're talking about the OS.
Right.
They're talking about the interface.
That's where they come from. Monk's Glue, thank you for Twitch Prime. That's awesome. Lots of comments here. Again, when you guys want us to address what you say, always go at Sifted Games.
That's a good. Vincent makes a good point there. Nintendo wants Hi-Fi Rush and Pentiment to be one of their big anchor points in tomorrow's thing. That's why he didn't mention them.
Oh, interesting. So I guess we'll see those tomorrow.
It sounds like it.
And their partner. I mean, Microsoft's their partner now. Manny DR1, y'all should do an LS Cream shot day segment one. We should, absolutely. We should drink LS Cream on the show and then watch what happens as we get to the third hour. I'm surprised you guys aren't saying... Well, you guys are saying a lot. You're just not saying it at us. You guys are discussing it amongst yourselves. But, yeah, I mean, it's pretty crazy, Matt, what's going on at Xbox right now. It feels like they're just kind of flying by the seat of their pants. Mm-hmm. And I don't think that's a good strategy.
And yeah, Microsoft got in the console game because they wanted to force Sony and Nintendo to run on Windows. They never wanted to be console manufacturers.
Who said that?
Pharaoh Doll.
Well, they were on Dreamcast. Microsoft Windows CE.
Yeah, Windows CE was the basis for
Dreamcast. But I think that's it.
Yeah, because no one else agreed to it, so they decided to make their own console.
Yeah.
Like, that was how the Xbox was born. If Sega had somehow magically continued, I bet they would have just thrown all their weight behind Sega.
Yeah.
Which is funny to say, but in hindsight.
Well, One Super Master Gamer says Xbox sold 23 million consoles, and more than half of those are Series S. This means about 10 million Xbox Series X. This is worse than the Wii U so far. I think that 23 million might be a little high. Pactor and I did a little math based upon some data that he had that he can't share publicly, and the number that he came to was like 18 million has been sold. Just extrapolating across using different data points to get using a little bit of theory you'd use in like geometry basically to get to the answer, and he thought it was more closer to like 18 million total sold. I don't know. I mean, that's just what he and I kind of figured out.
Either way,
it's not great.
Series X is Wii U territory.
Yeah, pretty much. Which we all know was a massive failure for Nintendo. Userfriendly.exe says Microsoft is the one that doesn't want Game Pass natively on Steam Deck. It's a Linux machine. They would never want to develop anything on a Linux platform. That's a great point, actually. You're right. No, you're 100% right. But again, those other Steam Decks, are they Linux also, or do they run on Windows? I don't know, actually. I
would imagine they are probably all... I mean, because who wants to license Windows for that?
Nobody. Yeah. You
still got to pay to put Windows on something.
Manny DR1 is reported PS5 is 2-1. No, it's actually been reported that PS5 is 3-1.
3-1 was what I saw.
Yeah. 2-1 was a while ago. 3-1 is the latest update that we've got, and also what Pactor shared with me, and also the number that Pactor used to extrapolate the real numbers. Eth Demon says they're Windows machines. Okay, then maybe they could work, something like that. Not Cirque says, yeah, Windows. Okay, then maybe they could work out some kind of a deal like that. So the times they are changing, Matt.
That is a pretty roundabout way to try to grow try to grow Game Pass, though.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
A lot faster is try to get it on GameCube, on Switch.
Yeah. So what do you think, Matt? Do you think Microsoft should continue in the hardware business going forward?
I don't know. I don't see how you argue Sony into letting you put Game Pass on the PlayStation, especially after the war they just had over Activision.
Mm-hmm. No matter what, even if you're not in the console business anymore.
Not with the current leadership. I mean, maybe we'll see who the new president is.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe they'll have a different take on things, but I don't know. I mean, but at the same time, I don't see a whole lot of stuff coming. I mean, really,
Nintendo and Microsoft have actually been buddies for a while.
Yeah, they're doing okay, but like
because they've released already
basically
like Banjo games on Nintendo platforms.
I would bide my time until Elder Scrolls 6, and if Elder Scrolls 6 doesn't move the needle, you're done.
You mean even done like with Game Pass?
You're done being a
hardware
platform.
manufacturer.
You're done being a platform.
Oh. So Game Pass would go away, or Xbox
Game Pass
would go
isn't
away?
a platform. Game Pass is just a subscription service. There would be no Xbox hardware anymore.
Okay. I know some of you may not want to hear that. But unfortunately, that's just the reality.
Well, also the problem is like there needs to be someone in third place. Like
third place has never been lucrative.
No, but it needs to be there.
Yeah.
Just Sony alone is a bad idea. Because Nintendo isn't really competing with them. Well,
they do offer an alternative.
An alternative,
but Microsoft and Sony have been very similar for a really long time.
Yeah, but I just don't think leaving Sony without any competition is a good idea.
Yeah.
But I don't see anyone else who would step into that market.
Nobody. Because you have to be an idiot
suicide.
To join the console market.
Yeah.
I mean, you really would have to be. Why would you join a dying industry just now trying to get your feet wet in it? That would be the dumbest thing you could ever do as a company. So if Xbox goes away, I don't think there will ever.
Looking forward to the Musk 64 in a few years then.
I think if the Xbox went away, I don't think there would ever be a third competitor. I just don't think there would be. I think they'd be stupid, honestly, to jump into the console market right now.
Somebody would be stupid.
10 years ago, sure, someone would have done it. Now, I don't think so.
Maybe, but we'll see what happens 3-4 years from now.
Yeah.
Somebody might be dumb enough to see an opportunity there. There's tech bros that think that.
Yeah, a lot of hubris, but they could also say, well, if Microsoft couldn't do it with their piles of cash...
Microsoft is seen as a giant dinosaur to them.
By some people.
Microsoft failed because they're too big and old and old-fashioned. Not
nimble enough.
Yeah, I mean, it would probably not come to anything. It would be another Stadia or even another Amico.
Yeah.
That kind of thing.
That's the thing, though. In this industry, you can't be nimble. You are literally driving the Titanic. You can't just jitter around you will fail.
When your projects take 3 to 5 years, you can't turn.
No, there's no turning.
You better make the right decision.
Every time. Every freaking time. Yeah. So anyway,
or know when to pull the plug.
Yeah. I don't think this story's over. I think the rest of the year we're going to be hearing little tidbits, little things here and there. Pay a lot of attention to how Game Pass does, although they don't share those numbers very often. I mean, it had been, the last time we got numbers, what was it, 25 million? I think is what they had told us, and now it's 34. So they waited almost 10 million subscribers to update us on the subscribership of Game Pass. So I don't know if we're going to get a lot of data around that, but just try to keep an eye on it because I think it's going to tell the tale, ultimately, of what happens with Xbox and Game Pass in particular. Let's see, you guys dropped some stuff in here at the last minute. Eth Demon and Microsoft would be better off working with Valve. That's never going to happen. The retro modern gamer. Valve needs to bring back the Steam machine with the successes of the Steam Deck. I don't know what that means.
The Steam machine, the PC.
Oh, the little the shuttle PCs that they made. Those were an abysmal failure.
Yeah.
But you're right. That could kind of be the third console if Xbox goes away.
Yeah.
I don't know. We'll see about that. And then he follows up with, or One Super Master Gamer says, let's be honest, after the 3 Red Ring fiasco, Xbox would be dead a long time ago if it wasn't for Big Daddy Microsoft. Yeah, I mean, Microsoft definitely bailed them out of the Red Ring of Death, for sure.
But they're all three of them are like that, you know.
Yeah.
Nintendo would have been dead after the Wii U fiasco if they hadn't had, billions of dollars in cash
in the bank, yeah.
Sony's got the backing of Sony corporate because
Sony wouldn't have made it through PS3 if it weren't for them selling TVs and all the other stuff.
Also because Sony corporate would keep them alive at any cost because they were the only division still making them any money, even in the
you're
PS3
right.
era.
Yeah, you're absolutely right.
Like if PlayStation goes away, Sony in general is in big trouble.
Yeah. Yep. So there you go. That's the latest on Xbox. Next up, we're going to talk about the first game from today's episode. A game that I was really excited to play because it's right in my wheelhouse. It's a action RPG light, but it's a horror action RPG light. And it reminds me of a movie franchise that I generally like. I like the first couple a lot, and they've fallen off a little bit. And that's called The Conjuring. Do you watch those films at all?
I watched the first one.
Yeah, that's the best one. So you've seen the best one. And The Conjuring is a film franchise about a husband and wife team that basically go around and perform exorcisms. That's the boilerplate.
Essentially based on real events, but actually based on con men.
Right, yeah. Because in the movies, they're real.
Yeah.
In reality, they were not.
No.
Because
see also the Amityville Horror.
Right, yeah. So anyway, this game is kind of like The Conjuring. It is not; they're not married, but it's boyfriend girlfriend team. But
they're basically married.
They might as well be.
They mention when you first get to the town where like there's an option to pick a dialogue thing where they're like, are they going to harangue us about not being married? And one of the options is like, I'll need a piece of paper to say that I'm with you forever, kind of thing. Which is nice. I like that. They're definitely life
partners. Yeah, that's a good way to put it. And they are ghost hunters. They don't perform exorcisms. They help ghosts move on, basically.
Yeah.
To either
or they banish them, which means you destroy the ghost and they're into oblivion. They're gone.
But still, they're not left in limbo like they are. So,
right.
So they find ghosts in limbo.
They remove them from the living world, basically.
They either choose for them to ascend or they banish them. But either way, they're no longer stuck in limbo, basically. And that's kind of their gig. The game is set in New England. Post-colonial, I guess, is the best.
Yeah, I think it's 1697.
Yeah. So it's in New England, right outside of Boston. And how the game starts is they travel to visit with one of their friends in New England. They get there, they find out that their friend has in fact died, and they try to console the wife, who explains to them that the entire village where they live has been struck with a curse. And basically, as it turns out, it's your job to lift the curse. That's really kind of like the 2-sentence plot synopsis for Banishers. Along the way, there's lots of twists and turns and things that happen. It's not as straightforward as I just made it out to seem, because you start in this town, which is New Eden, which is the name of the game, Banishers Ghosts of New Eden. You start there, you're only there for like a couple hours at the beginning of the game, and then you go out. And you don't come back. Although your goal the whole time is to get back to New Eden, you don't go back there for a long, long time. Along the way, you meet tons of different people. The plot gets twisted all up. The story changes. The people who you think are the bad guys may not be the bad guys, and vice versa. I think what I would say about the story in this game is that for the most part, it was very unnerving to me. The facial animation in this can be like mind-blowing at times and then mediocre at other times. But it
varies by character a lot.
It really does.
The main characters are some of the best-looking character faces I've ever seen. And sometimes you run into like side quest people who are like, oh, you didn't get the same amount of care on your head.
But some of the NPCs in this are very convincing. Like, one thing that kind of stuck with me as I've played this game is that it's unnerving. Like, the people in the game they're going crazy, really. And then a lot of the NPCs, you can see it in their face. They have this very, I don't know how to explain it, an unsettled, uncomfortable look about them. And the way that the characters are written, that's portrayed that way as well.
It's also constantly playing like tension music, like even when you're talking to guys in the inn at the beginning here, it's like dun,
it's a little heavy-handed at times,
a little much.
Yeah, I'd agree with that.
Like this scene, the music is like basically like something's bad is gonna happen, and then nothing.
And it's
happens.
Just a conversation.
It's just a conversation with an old white man. Like there's Nothing happens.
But basically, the plot of the game is you're just stumbling from one disturbed person to the next. You're finding people who are being haunted by ghosts or are just mentally ill.
And if you've ever read a story before, sometimes you'll run into somebody, you're like, "Oh, that guy's doing this," and you're like, "Yep, that's exactly what's happening." Like, and you got to do an investigation, and you got to piece it all together. There's a nice element. It is very clearly by the same team who did Vampire.
Yeah.
And they've progressed a lot.
This is, by the way, we should just say right now, a lot of people may hear that Vampire and be like, oh God, no. This is way better than Vampire.
Yeah.
This is Don't Nod, which we're big fans of already. This is a huge leap up from Vampire in pretty much every way.
Yeah. I will say it still doesn't quite feel right.
The combat's still not amazing.
Combat's fine-ish.
Fine-ish. That's a good way to put it.
For me, the problem is more like they don't move properly. Like there's a weightlessness to how the main character moves, and they don't turn quite right.
Yeah, I just don't feel a lot of impact with the weapons when I use them.
No, it depends on the enemy. My issue is that there's an element of just there's no way to make them move that feels appropriate to the tone of things. I don't. That's a weird way to put. But they're so video gamey when they move around. Like they instantly they don't speed up or slow down. Imagine playing The Last of Us, except Ellie instantly hits run speed.
Yeah,
it wouldn't. There's something about that doesn't work. You know? And this one, it's like it doesn't feel like they're 100% connected to things. It has that kind of Eurojank spiders thing where you run up to something and you're like the prompt comes up and you hit the button, but then you
move too far and the prompt goes away,
you have to wait until a split second after the prompt pops up register.
Yeah,
that happens all the time, and it's just there's a snappiness that should be there that isn't there. You don't feel 100% connected to the UI, and that's a real nasty nitpick to make about a game that's so technically impressive in a lot of ways. But it's the little things like that make you feel good when you're controlling something.
Yeah,
that's to the point that they really need to get those things right, because it's the only thing keeping them something on par with a Sony first-party game.
Yeah,
frankly. They're right on the edge, and it's just frustrating where you're like, this is so well presented and so well written and so well done, and there's the ideas are cool and the quest ideas are cool and the upgrades are neat. And the interplay is cool, in terms of gameplay and combat, but it's just you're constantly reminded that you're playing something that just doesn't quite have that polish on it.
Yeah, and
it's really frustrating.
Yeah,
in a way of rooting for Don't Nod. It's not in Don't Nod sucks. They didn't get this right. It's more this could be that much better. You'd have something in potential Game of the Year candidacy.
Let's talk about the gameplay. The big part of the gameplay is investigations. How do you feel about how those are handled, Matt?
They're fine. They're a little rudimentary. Basically, as long as you're completing the objectives to complete the side quest, you will automatically get the investigation stuff done. It just sort of if you want to go through it and sort of, it's a little record of what happened. And then they mostly seem to be there because at the end of most of the quests, you have to make a decision. Basically, you have to either choose to let the ghost ascend, banish the ghost, or murder the human and kill them and take their essence. Because all of that is leading to a big choice, basically how the game ends. And the choice to either blame mortals for the hauntings and kill them and remove them from the board will lead to one ending, and ascending or banishing the ghost will lead to another. And so you kind of want those the investigation records because they pop a little reminder, button reminder in the corner. When you have to make that choice, you can go back and look at all the investigation stuff and sort of decide who you think is right and who you think should be banished or killed or whatever. So that, I think that's the purpose of it, is to kind of go through that.
And I felt like I wasn't feeling a lot of feedback from the combat. I felt like I was attacking paper enemies a lot of the time.
Well, they're ghosts. So.
That's a good point. Although they are ghosts that manifest. It actually happens. They manifest and then you fight them.
I definitely feel because sometimes you have to fight possessed creatures and people and animals and knock the ghost out of them, basically.
Yeah.
I do feel like hitting those has more substantial weight to it a lot of the time, and then when you hit, because at least in the feedback on the controller, like hitting those things has a harder vibration to it than hitting the ghost wraiths, which seems to be intentional.
Interesting. I didn't pick up on that.
I'm not sure that's the best choice, but I think what you're talking about is intentional.
Yeah. Maybe.
Doesn't really excuse it. But,
well, the way the combat works is you use the 2 right shoulder buttons for your light attack and your heavy attack. And then once you kind of build up, like every other game, once you kind of build up your meters, you can start doing some of your other stuff. So the other thing about this game, by the way, is that you can swap between the 2 characters on the fly. You just tap the triangle button and you automatically switch between the 2. And there are combos that are built around that. Like 3 punches with her, tap triangle, switch to him, follow up with a couple heavy attacks. As you start getting into the skill trees, those become more important. The team up stuff. The leading off with her, finishing off with him, vice versa. She uses her fists.
Yeah, she does more damage to possessed bodies.
Yep.
But he does more damage to ghosts.
Right. And so she uses her fists in like magic, basically. And then he has like a dual wielding, like, I don't even know what the hell they are. So like a short sword and like a mace.
They use short sword. It's a flame, some kind of flame stick. So basically, it's like a holy fire thing.
It's almost like a torch.
And she has it early on too. It seems to be basic Banisher equipment.
Yeah. And so they do fight differently. Like, I prefer fighting with him. I only use her when I kind of have to, or as you said, when you're fighting particular enemy types.
I use her fairly. I mean, she's limited. Like, you can't be her forever. Like, there's a meter for that. So, like, you're kind of stuck with him.
Well, it's symbiotic. So her meter goes down. You need to switch to him, and when you attack with him, it builds up her meter. So the game forces you to jump back and forth between the 2. You can't just choose to use her and keep fighting with her.
No, you could use him forever if you wanted to, but you're going to take longer to whittle away some of those.
It really is whittling.
Yeah.
If you try to use him to fight the enemy she should be fighting, like every attack takes off like a pixel. Like the game teaches you very quickly, like you need to be swapping out and using this other character. And it's seamless and it's really smooth and cool. When you like, there's one combo that I got where like. So he gets a gun eventually, a rifle with unlimited ammo. But the trick is that like it's one shot. So you fire it, and then he has to go through this cycle of him like jacking the gun down to like reload the gun or whatever.
Yeah, it's 1697.
So. Exactly. But there is one of the things on the skill tree that you can unlock and select is this thing where if you fire the gun, switch to her, and I think you have to punch like twice, switch back to him, the gun is reloaded. And so I have started learning to use that. Now the gun doesn't work on, it's not like a win-all. Like, it works on some enemies better than other ones. I found that it works really well on some of the mini-bosses that you fight in the game. But a lot of the game is trial and error. Like, there's even one mini-boss that I fought where the first form, the gun wiped him out. Second form, the gun did nothing. And it forces you to, oh, crap, the gun's not working now. I need to figure out other ways to tackle this.
The gun's better against meat, obviously.
Yeah, that's a good way to put it. And then there are some sections in the game where they take her away from you. There are these little, like, wards that they put in the game that like wipe her out. Basically, she can't function. You have to search for like the wards and shoot them or destroy them. Sometimes you can't even find them, and they're just like, look, this section of the game, you're without her. You're gonna have to learn to fight with just him. So they do a really good job of kind of mixing up the combat, and it keeps it from becoming too much of a grind. But Matt, I think my biggest criticism of this game is that it is just too one note, like visually, auditory. The gameplay.
It is generally just kind of very sad.
It's bleak. Is the word I use to describe this game.
There's a melancholy to it. There is no comedy relief.
No.
It is a game about a world where it is eternally winter and the dead walk, and like there's like a bunch of things where like basically there's a lot of quests where basically someone died and their ghost is haunting something, and the people that their loved ones have to kind of say goodbye to them again. And like it's a horrifying like place.
It's like I said, like I felt unsettled playing this game. Like everyone I came across seemed like they were psycho or having mental health crisis, or they were haunted.
I mean, understandably, given what's happening in that area. And like, you know, they also, you know, the main villain, the Nightmare, is kind of like doing that. Everybody has horrible dreams constantly.
That's one thing we didn't bring up, actually, is the nightmare, which is the root of all the evil in this. There's a super ghost, basically, that has come to the village, the hamlet, and has put the curse over the hamlet. And really...
the curse really is just the nightmare's presence.
Right. Because, as you said, it's giving people horrible nightmares. It's making them unstable and crazy. It's causing people to be haunted by their dead loved ones.
And the ultimate question is, what does she want? Because the thing with the hauntings is you have to find out what they want, and then either give it to them or banish them.
Yeah.
And the big overall question of the main story is, what does this nightmare want, and why is she there?
Yeah.
And as always with any good colonial era American town, some shit went down.
Yeah.
She's mad about something.
Well, as it turns out, I don't want to spoil anything, but you get farther into the game, you start to realize that some of the people in the town might be responsible for some of the crap that's happening in the town.
Never trust the town elders.
Because you first get there, you're like the savior. Like, you show up, and they're like, oh, your friend's dead, but can you still help us? And you're like, sure, I'll still help you. And you become like this spiritual cop, basically. You go around, you find people who are having issues, and you try to solve their problem. You're Ghostbusters. Yeah. You're trying to remove haunting from their life, basically. And as we talked about, there's a whole process you go through where you gather clues. There's a separate screen that you go to that show you the people and how many clues you've collected. And then ultimately, once you've collected all the clues, you come to a huge decision point. And this, to me, is where Banishers really shines. When you have to figure out whether you want... So, without spoiling too much, because there's a huge twist in here that we're trying to avoid.
Except it's stupid to avoid it because it's in the trailers.
Is it in the trailers?
Yes. It's very obvious from the very first trailer that she's what she is.
Okay. Really? I didn't pick 100%. Up on that. Okay.
She dissolves in the first trailer.
Okay. So she's a ghost. And you have a choice. You can either sacrifice humans at the end of your investigations and bring her back to life. She absorbs her essence, or you can just banish the ghosts. And there are some hard decisions,
and you can choose to ascend the ghost, which is like sending them off to the next world, or banish them, which means they're gone. Like, you kill the ghost, basically.
Yeah. But you're killing people. Like, you become a murderer.
Yeah, to bring
your girlfriend back to life, basically.
And the thing that is interesting to me is that very early on, you have to swear an oath to her.
I thought that interesting. They made you choose so early.
Well, because it's not what they do. So very early on, you have to swear an oath to either bring her, resurrect her, or help her ascend. You are not locked into that.
Well, yeah, you can choose.
You can choose whatever you want, but as you choose against your oath, it will affect your relationship with her and her behavior.
And it does.
And which is very interesting. And it's probably not like the ideal way to go through the game if you want to see sort of like an idealized playthrough of it, whichever option you choose. But it does have a lot more branching to it than you think, and it kind of needs to be there because early on you're like, okay, well, I don't think this guy would kill people to do that. Or I do think he'd kill people to do that. But as you go, and the first choice is sort of like not super difficult because if you do want to kill somebody, if you have decided he would kill people, the first guy you choose to kill or not is pretty easy to choose to kill.
Yeah.
But
it gets murkier though.
But if you don't want to, the first ghost you have to send on, the ghost and his demeanor is sort of like, oh, I would like him to ascend and go to his next. Like you can easily choose either one. And then after that, you kind of have this feeling like, okay, whichever one you choose, you kind of feel like, okay, that's what I'm going to do from now on. And then you start getting into the later stuff, and you're like, oh, I don't know. It's don't nod. So but one of their strengths is they put you in these ambiguous ass situations, and these things where nobody's right and everybody's right, and nothing really satisfies you. Is sort of like, oh, that's not going to be how I want this to end, but I also don't want to do the other thing. It's like they're whoever they've got, the people they've got up at that don't nod place really know how to set up an ethical quandary.
Oh, it was killing me, some of the decisions, man. I literally sat there for forever.
There's a couple of these where you just sit back and you're like, all right, how do we do it? And eventually I did sort of just pick a path and stick with it.
Me too.
But part of the issue...
I chose to save her.
Yeah,
and I ended up feeling like a murderer. Oh, you didn't?
I did not.
I did. And I feel like a murderer because eventually you get to these places where there's two people that you're deciding between. They're both terrible. They both had at least a little bit of fault in the haunting and why the stuff was happening, but there's no clear bad guy. And literally, I'm like, I'm just going to kill one of them. And that's the game sells it that way too. It makes you feel terrible about doing it. And meanwhile, as soon as you do that, she's in your ear. You made the right decision. You did, and you start to feel like, okay, like you're. I don't know. Like this game made me feel ways.
Well, then you go the other direction, and she's also.
Is she mean?
No, she's grateful to you for like helping.
For
her
ascending her.
Like she basically seems to support you no matter what.
Oh, okay. Interesting. Well, I'm glad we both chose different options there.
But if you aren't consistent, she starts to quite like, what are you doing? Like what? You know, like
if you start to go back and forth and waffle. Interesting.
So like. Which also makes for an interesting character dynamic.
Yeah,
so
for sure.
Like, that's an option, too.
This is one of the better choose-your-own whatever that I've played. Like, as far as the plot is concerned, the decisions that I had to make, how hard they were to make.
Yeah, it's a compelling scenario, and it's a compelling thing that they force you to do.
Yeah.
And it's very hard to tell, because a lot
of
times... Which
option's going to be canon? Like, how do they decide, like, if they make a Banishers 2...
I think if you made a Banishers 2, you jump way... out of this.
Just ignore it.
Well, no, you stay in the world, but you don't do this same.
So it doesn't matter period. What our decisions.
Yeah. I would do a Banishers. See, if I was going to do a Banishers sequel, I'd set it in like modern day. Like I'd want to see what this world is. A very interesting world.
It is,
and I would like to see what that world looks like in different time periods.
But it does wear on me. This game. It does remind me. You brought up an apt comparison. The Last of Us Part 2. This game, the vibe that it gives me while I'm playing it. I'm not excited to go back and play it again. Like I get ground to a pulp a little bit and I stop. It's hard for me to convince myself to go back and start playing it again. Once I do, I get hooked in and off I go. But it's just that I'm like thinking about it. I'm like the dread, the uneasiness that a game's give. I mean, it's effective. Very few games are like this.
So I don't get that from this. I mean, I understand it's trying to create that. I just don't.
Why?
React that way because I don't react to things like that.
Oh, ever?
Not really. Like. I appreciate the atmosphere, but it doesn't make me feel bad. Like it doesn't affect my mood like that. And I like to go back into it because I'm like, oh, now what's going to happen, or like what's. And I do agree that it's one note in that.
Everything's
regard.
Gray and brown.
The whole area looks. I mean, all the
everything looks the same. Yeah. It's always gray out. There's never any sunshine.
But in general, like I like the combat. I like the premise. I like how I like any kind of Ghostbusters thing generally. And I would be very interested to see what this world looks like in different locations. I would definitely vary the environments more in a sequel. Might even have the sun come out once in a while.
There's never any sun in this game.
No, but that's that is the nightmare's doing. Basically, the winter lasts forever because the nightmare is nobody even knows how long it's been going on because no one can tell day from night anymore.
Yeah,
which is partly what's contributing to the fact that they all seem crazy. So that's very effectively done. I would love to see them branch out because like they do have a lot of backstory and lore as to what the Banishers are and how things work and how the different competing religious theories of what ghosts should do or what you should do about ghosts and Banishers are kind of Banishers are sort of the almost witchers.
Well, even some Catholics are considered like outcasts in this, or they hide the fact that they used to be Catholic. Like, there's all kinds of undertones going on.
I mean,
here.
That was true in colonial times.
That's true
too. Because,
for reasons.
This is a Protestant country when it comes down to it, and the Catholics are weird, idolatrous people who worship the dung of their leader, the Pope. So we all know. Right? But like, they actually do bring that up in a couple of letters you can find.
Yeah, they do.
But that is an actual real anti-Catholic superstition from back in the day.
And the game is kind of built like the recent God of War games. I actually called this game jokingly The Conjuring of War.
There is a God of War. I mean, clearly there's influence there.
It's even got the shimmy loads. And
there's a lot of shimmying.
But the level design is like...
Doesn't annoy me as much as Final Fantasy VII because I don't then hate what happens next, But it is like the shimmying is a little out of control.
You're herded down a cattle chute. Every once in a while it breaks open to a bigger area.
Well, one of the things I didn't like is like, and you see this, you see it mostly through the game, but like a lot of time, like especially that first side quest with the guy and his friend in the woods. There's a section where it's very clear because of basically the yellow mold, because yellow means go here.
In every video
game. There's like a little ledge. Clearly, you can shimmy along it to get around it. but it won't, like the lock symbol pops up because you can't go through it. Because if you go through there, you'll find the body of the guy you're looking for, and if you do that out of order, it won't make sense what happened.
There's a couple
of things
where
where you just sort of
that's
railroaded that way, where you're like, well, you could, I don't know, you could have the ledge fall over, and then now you can get through kind of thing. Right. But just the fact, it's like, no, you
they
can't.
Just put the
can't do that.
The lock symbol up. Yeah,
you don't want to go there. I'm like, yeah, I do. It's like, no, you really don't. No, you don't.
Campfires also a little bit like Dark Souls and games like that. You find campfires, you can save at the campfires, you can level up the skill trees. Basically, every time Antia, the girl, gets a new special ability, you get a new skill tree. Mm-hmm. And the skill trees have abilities for both her and him in the same one. And it's kind of interesting. I found that like sometimes if you choose one for him, it's an either or.
Yeah, everything. All the skills are either or on their.
You'll never unlock all of them basically, or you can choose between.
You can
them.
Switch between them at will as long as you're at a campfire,
and you can respec whenever you want.
But usually you're kind of like it's either like a. I mean, it's speed versus heavy damage.
Yeah,
like you can spec one way or the other.
And at the fire, you can also upgrade all your gear. There's like 8 different pieces of gear. I found that
4 each.
Yeah, if you just let the game give you new gear, you never get new gear. I found all the best gear at like merchants. I just bought it. And the economy in this is really stingy. Like the first good armor I bought was like 1,000 silver or whatever. I had played for like 8 hours and I had 1,080 silver. Like they're very stingy.
Although the
money.
Upgrades are pretty competitive.
Significant, yeah. If you just upgrade the stuff that you have, it's pretty. You can
and if
notice.
You're looking around everywhere because everything glows white, basically, you can find. I mean, they're pretty generous with the ingredients. They're not very generous with the money.
Yeah, you're collecting stuff, and and then when you get to the campfires, that's where you craft the upgrades to your gear.
Yeah,
and you can also fast travel to any fireplace or any campfire from there.
And there's a lot of cool like side, little off the beaten path things you'll find, and then she can see into the spirit realm and uncover things like your hand will glow with like blue fire, and if there's something hidden, so there's a reason to poke around that way. There's a
his
lot
hand
of cool
will glow.
So there's actually a little bit of Soul Reaver to it. There.
Yeah.
Like it's
so there's only stuff. There's stuff that only she can see. And you'll get a little glow on his hand, and that it's basically telling you switch to her, and then search around the area, and you'll find something that either she can unlock or a door that she can go through that.
And her abilities like lock you out of different areas, like Metroid style. I mean, it's combining a lot of different ideas.
It really does, yeah.
And most of it works. Like I think it's good.
I think it's good too. Yeah. I've really enjoyed my time with it. Again, it is a very heavy, oppressive game. It's not like. There's no levity in this game. There's a couple jokes here and there, but like not enough.
Minor. It's very gallows
more.
The witches are funny.
Yeah.
But they're the ones who kind of feel like outside of the cycle of misery. Yeah. Because they're witches.
Yeah. Well, you don't get to visit them until you're like 10 hours into the game or whatever. Like.
But they're the closest things to like well-adjusted people.
Right.
In the
That's
game.
the funny part about it, and they're the witches. Presentation-wise. Technically, the game looks pretty good. Yeah, I mean, some of the NPCs, as you mentioned, don't look great.
I'm continually impressed by it on my PC. Like,
I'm playing on PS5.
Like the rain falling on people's clothes is remarkable,
and the ground. It looks great.
It looks like you can see the felt and the fabric getting wet.
And saturating.
And but there's some like they make people cry real tears in this. And sometimes it's like, wow, that's really convincing. Sometimes it's not.
It's funny.
It's just like water falling out of a faucet on their face, and you're like, that doesn't quite work. But like, I appreciate what they're after.
Yeah.
Like they're going for some stuff in terms of like emotional presentation, and like I appreciate the ambition.
Yep, me too. The audio,
again, it is clearly a descendant of Vampire.
Yeah, for sure. But way better in so much every way.
Although the guy looks a little like him.
Yeah,
like it's
true.
Funny to me. Like they almost have a recurring actor at this point. But a lot of the facial expressions, especially early on with the town, like very impressive. Like some of the best I've seen.
It's really.
Matter of fact, the first scene when you start the game is they're sleeping in their little cot on the boat they're on, and there was a quick moment where like, is this CG or is it
right?
I couldn't quite tell. Yeah. And then there was a quick like graphical glitch. I'm like, oh, that's real. That's real. It's very good.
Yeah,
like,
it's a good looking game.
There's a couple things where people interact with each other physically, which you have to because there's ghosts. Like the idea that you can touch something or not touch something is actually important because ghosts are incorporeal.
Yeah,
and like they do a really good job of making things feel like concrete when someone touches them, or you go through them if they're a ghost. Like that's really hard to do.
Yeah.
And they did a great job of like Don't Nod is like I remember the time when Vampire was announced, I was like, can they do an action RPG? They've never done that. They're like give them one more game and I think they're up there. They're in the top echelon of people making this kind of action RPG choose your own dialogue kind of thing.
Yeah.
Like, they're really good.
Now, the audio Matt mentioned, the music can be a little heavy-handed. I agree with that completely. Yeah. I also noticed a couple times I'm playing on PS5.
Telegraphing a little bit.
Yeah.
It's like, okay, it's like, you're like, okay, it's almost like Dead Space.
It's ruining the surprise.
Stop ruining it.
Yeah.
Like, is the Necro-Orphan here? Is the fucking orchestra showed up? Go away, John Williams. Get out of here.
Yeah.
We're trying to play a game.
But I have noticed that, like, when I pause the game on PlayStation 5, you let it sit there for a little bit. Like, the music has looping problems where it doesn't loop correctly. You get some audio pops. Like, there's still...
on the PC, a couple times, cutscenes have frozen. But not like... It didn't hard lock. The music's still playing. And I'm like, what's going on? And if I Alt-Tab out and come back, it starts back up again. I don't even need to I've never seen that before. Usually if something freezes, you got to quit and restart. In this one, if the cutscene freezes, I just Alt-Tab out, come back in, fine. Resyncs itself, no problem.
I really enjoyed this game.
Yeah, it's very good.
I'm not quite finished with it. I've played a lot of it.
I think it's actually underrated.
Oh, yeah. Metacritic. What's its Metacritic right now?
Like 7.
That's too low. Yeah.
I would put this in the mid-8s.
Yeah, me too. I've had a ton of, I wouldn't say fun, but...
No, it's not an upper at all, but it's very well done. It's engaging.
Yeah.
It's for sure.
It's called Banishers, Ghosts of New Eden. It's available for PC, PS5, Xbox Series. I say get it.
Yeah. This is probably the best major release of the year so far.
It's pretty damn good. And is it $70? I didn't buy it. They sent it to me. I didn't check the price. Do you remember?
I can't remember. Probably.
Okay. I don't know if I would pay $70 for it. That's maybe a little... I mean,
games are going to be $70
They kind of are. Yeah.
Even the Switch 2, I think.
Yeah. Well, I mean, Zelda was, so...
yeah, but Zelda's Zelda.
But I really enjoyed my time with this. I'm a big horror guy. I like The Conjuring. I think you've kind of figured out by now. Vincent says Banishers is 81. I go a little bit higher than 81. That's not too far out of the realm of reason, though.
Okay. Actually, it's
$60 on consoles.
Actually, it's $50 on Steam.
Oh, and $60 on consoles. Go get it.
$50 on Steam for and a $3 Wanderer set DLC. Yep. Yeah, that's absolutely worth it.
Yep. If you listen to our conversation and nothing turned you off big time, and you've watched the B-roll, I know our live audience wasn't able to watch it, but if you're watching the archive, you're able to, and you watch all this, everything's copacetic, go buy it. You're going to like it. This is... Right now, for me, I know other people may say Hello Divers too, but for me, this is easily the most pleasant surprise so far of 2024. So,
I mean, the most pleasant surprise for me is that poker.
We'll talk about next week.
This, but also because this doesn't really surprise me. Like this is Don't Nod's trajectory at this point, especially this team. I think they're different from the Life is Strange team, or at least slightly. There's probably some overlap, but these guys are on their much like Spiders. I think they're on their path.
They're right on the cusp.
They're right there.
They're really close.
They're about to I
think this is better than any Spiders game, by the way.
Yes, I would agree with that. But I think Spiders and them, give them another couple games here. I think you are. You're in the realm of not really missing the BioWare RPGs anymore.
Kind of, yeah.
By necessity, because they just don't fucking make them anymore.
So there you go. That's Banishers, Ghosts of New Eden. That's 2 thumbs up from GameFace. We both recommend that you pick it up.
I saw a screenshot of somebody who had put 15,000 hours into Dragon Age Inquisition.
Okay.
15,000 hours.
Oh, man. All right.
Has it even been out that long?
I don't know. So what we're going to do, we're going to try to bring the show back to normal here. We tested out the B-roll or the video footage for other games, and they seem to be working okay. It seems like the Banishers footage was the problem.
Person spent 1.7 years of their life playing Dragon Age Inquisition.
Oh, go touch grass.
Yeah. Leave the hinterlands.
Yeah. All right. Next, we're going to talk about a game that we actually discussed last week, and we're not going to discuss it all that long. The difference now is that I've actually had a chance to play it, whereas Matt had already spent a ton of time with it last week, and that game is Ubisoft's Skull and Bones. A long time coming for this game, way too long coming. Now that I've played the game,
inexplicably
holy
long.
Moly, I can't believe it took that long. I mean, I realize that they
started over like 3 times.
Right, I get that. But if this is what you ended up with, it's really crazy. And the first thing I do want to say, and I'm probably going to say some things I don't like about this, and I don't want to taint my overall impressions before I state them, and I will say this. I enjoy playing this game.
Yeah.
It is complete. It was very nice to go. I was flipping from Banishers to this. It was the perfect palate cleanser. I'm like playing Banishers, this crazy, heavy, like dark, like horror game. And then I'm sailing the seven seas with the beautiful ocean, and I'm cruising along, and like some people who I don't know with weird usernames are cruising along alongside me, and we're like, swerving in and out of each. Like there was a zen to playing this game that I really, really enjoyed. However,
even though it's like you're like, there's nothing particularly compelling here, and everything I'm doing is just menu navigation. Why am I enjoying this? But I am enjoying it. I played this game for like 40 hours.
You've played it for 40 hours? I can totally see that happening.
Like, and like some of that's just because it takes so long to fucking sail anywhere.
Yeah.
And like, eventually fast travel becomes more feasible because early on you're like, 400 silver? Are you out of your mind? I can afford that. Now it's like, I get 400 silver for opening a wrecked ship.
Right.
It's nothing.
Yeah. I haven't got to that point. I have not played it for 40 hours. I've probably spent 12 hours with it, something like that at this point, roughly.
I finally have medium-sized ships. So I'm sailing around, and like all the starting players are like way down there. I'm like, yeah, hello.
It takes so
I can run over
long.
you. Yeah.
It takes so long to level up ships.
Yeah.
It feels like it takes like 20 missions before like you actually. Oh no. Okay,
No,
I thought
it's just the footage.
I almost had a heart attack. It feels
like
it takes like forever to level up one level of your ship.
Well, because you have to build the upgrades.
Yeah.
So it's not, the time isn't like grinding. It's you got to go find the ingredients or go find the blueprints or whatever. And it does tell you where everything is. Like, you go if you highlight the thing to craft to the blacksmith, it'd be like, you don't have the blueprint for this, and it's like you can get this from whoever at wherever. Like, okay, I'm gonna go over there and get that. So I went over and get that. Now I need to make it. You can just pin it to your tracking, and it'll tell you all the ingredients you need, and it'll mark on the map where you get all those ingredients, whether you can buy them or whether you can find them or whether you can pirate them from a trade route. Like, it's all right there for you. Like, there is no mystery here in terms of what you need to do next, except for some of the investigation things, which is supposed to be a mystery, so that's fine.
I mean, I'll just say this. I'm impressed with the proficiency of the game.
Yeah.
Here's the thing.
Yeah.
As a game, as a service, I think the problem maybe with this game and how some people are receiving it is that they're looking at it like it's supposed to be an Assassin's Creed game.
Yeah, they're looking
and
at
it's
it
not.
as like a Black Flag extension.
And I think they're like, oh, you can't go on foot, and why can't I go and run along the buildings? Like, I think the expectation, and I understand why, totally understand why the expectations are the way they are, but I think that is souring, it's poisoning the well for this game. Yeah. I think if you look at it, it's like, this is just a game as a service where I have a ship that I gradually improve over time, and I go out on these missions and these sorties to find stuff, and I just sail the seas. And I think it's a better game if you look at it that way.
I don't miss running around in city, and the on foot stuff is really not great. I mean, there's no gameplay in it. You're just sort of running. And there are shortcuts to get everywhere.
You're getting
basically.
the mission and then bringing the stuff to finish the mission.
Yeah.
And then you're going to the blacksmith and you're going to the
very boring cutscene to get to it.
Yeah.
I do think once you get the black market open and the helm, I don't know if you got to that stuff.
Yeah, I've got it. Yeah.
Like, that's more interesting. Like, it's more of a secret society. That's almost an Assassin's Creed thing.
A little bit. It's got the vibe, yep.
And it gives you like something to work towards. It isn't just like trying to please this dipshit who hangs up. Like that first pirate captain, like leader guy. I was like, you are a giant loser, and I'm overthrowing you in the instant I get a chance. But I don't think you probably can because it's so MMO driven. Yeah. I'm sure he's there forever.
Right.
But like, and I do think like the ship stuff is interesting. There's a lot more variety in what you can do compared to the Assassin's Creed games in terms of designing which guns go. You can pick where the guns and types of guns on each side of the ship, and the front and the back, and the bigger ships have an auxiliary like mortar in the middle. So you really got an arsenal going at some point. And you can customize them. There's blueprints for different effects, things that cause more tearing, things that cause fire, things that cause poison, things that, I mean, there's tons of things that cause healing. Like, you can shoot other players and heal them with your guns. Like,
I was pleasantly surprised by the depth of the game. Yeah.
It's just outside of that, there is no depth.
Yeah. That's all there is.
All the depth in all the game is in upgrading your ship to do more stuff so you can upgrade the ship to do more stuff.
Pretty much.
Which is fine. Like, that's a kind of a treadmill that I can get behind.
As soon as I started playing this, I knew you loved it.
The one thing that I do think is a valid complaint that I do miss is, like, the fact that you cannot board the other ship and finish the fight like you could in the Assassin's Creed games.
It's just a canned cinematic.
Really disappointing. Like, that was kind of the big finish.
Yeah.
You wore them down and you got over there and you hacked them all to pieces, and it really felt like that that
swashbuckling vibe, yeah, for sure.
And like, you'd have to basically design a completely new game system for that. Like, but I believe if this game does well, they will add that eventually.
Probably.
I don't know how well this is sold, how well this is doing. It is no Helldivers 2.
Yeah, as far as sales,
Well, yeah, but also in terms of concurrent players, it's hard to tell because it's not on Steam.
Right. Yeah, this game reminds me a lot of like No Man's Sky.
Yeah, there's some elements.
So I started playing it, and I'm like, I see why Matt is enjoying this a lot.
Exploration for the sake of exploration.
Yeah. It's like there's no real goal. It's like you're just becoming the king of the high seas.
Yeah.
Like there's no like there's this bad guy that we have to kill, or there's this thing that's happening that we need to stop. It's just like you're a pirate.
You're doing pirate shit.
That's it. Yeah.
And like this, like it is an interesting. I think people complain about the setting. Like it is kind of a general Indian Ocean setting, but over on the left is kind of the coast of Africa, and over in the middle is the coast of India, and then go up far enough and you kind of get some China stuff. Like there's a mix of cultures there that you just don't see in games much, and I think that's really interesting. Like setting it away from the Caribbean and where like the other Assassin's Creed games had this makes it way more interesting to me. And lets you kind of have. I will say, like I'm unimpressed by the cosmetics for the captain.
Yeah.
Like, also, because like, I mean, I'm playing a female captain, and you can't like. There's no layering of clothing, so like you can't put like a top on and then put like an
jacket over top.
Yeah. So basically, I wanted a pirate coat. I wanted like a big long pirate coat. So I got one, but no matter what you put on, she always either you have a shirt on. Or you put the pirate coat on, it goes over the standard like rag bra, and I'm like, okay, I'm wearing like fucking Long John Silver's outfit, but I've got like a burlap sack wrapped around my boobs. Can I can I put something on, like some under? Because the male character puts that on, he just looks cool. He's got a bare chested like, I'm just wearing a coat and nothing else. Fuck you. But like the girl looks like she's like. Stole a guy's coat and is just sort of like homeless. Like I'm like, can't you make the girls look cool too? Like there's got to be a way to like add some under things that don't look like she just pulled them off a dead cat. It's like it's a very weird aesthetic oversight.
Yeah. Here's my big hang up with this: the price. I would be cool if this were the price of Helldivers 2. If this game came in at $40, I would wholeheartedly recommend it to pretty much everyone.
Especially because they're trying to sell you so many things.
Right. Because it is very heavy-handed with the game as a service stuff. Because that's what it is.
Yeah, and it's all cosmetic stuff. It's not important to the game. But there's some like there's a cat I really wanted. But like I would have had to spend like $20 on in-game currency to get the cat. Yeah. And I'm like, I don't want to give you the. Also, I tried and it didn't work. Yeah. So, like on PC, I went to the thing. It's like, oh, you wanted. I'm like, yeah. So it takes me to the Ubisoft app thing, and it wouldn't load the store page. And so I went to the website. I'm like, can I buy it from my guy? And that wouldn't work. And I'm like, okay, if you don't want my fucking money, I guess I don't want your fucking cat. It's like, so that was the end of that. And I didn't think about it again. So they almost had me in like a little moment of weakness. But one of the things about like tricking me into buying impulse purchases is you have to make that painless and instant.
Oh yeah.
You can't give me time to think
delay.
about it.
Yeah.
And I thought about it, and I'm like, no, I don't need to do that, do I? That's stupid. So like, you lost $20, Ubisoft, because your fucking UI doesn't work right.
I mean, $40 is even a little bit of a stretch. Like, I have a feeling that someday this game's going to be free to play.
Yeah, I mean, eventually. I mean, I think that's the last ditch move. I mean,
depending on how it does here over the next.
I would hope they don't. Also, flamethrowers are overpowered.
The combat is pretty much straight out of Assassin's Creed 4. Yeah. They haven't really changed hardly anything.
I mean, there's new weapons that you weren't able to use before, so like the flamethrowers are new. There's some like, rocket things and torpedo things that are not super historically accurate, but we're not going. I mean, there's ghosts and shit in this.
Yeah.
They're not trying to
You fire
be
your
real.
guns. You block with R1 on the PlayStation, and then when you get them whittled down to nothing, you pull up alongside them and you board them and you take all their stuff, and that's pretty much the extent of it. My big frustrations with this game were when I would die. So if you get killed out on the open sea, you have to sail all the way back to that point to pick up all your cargo, and if you die again, you lose everything. So I, like an idiot, had not been putting stuff in my warehouse, because I'll be honest with you, I couldn't quite figure out, like, what needed to go in the warehouse and, like, what I should keep on my boat. I hadn't learned the game well enough yet to know.
You should put crafting stuff in the warehouse and keep commodities on the boat.
And I had not done that. And so I went out and I died. Like, they sent me on this mission to take on this boat that, like, I couldn't even, like, take any health off of. And it was like, when I first showed up, it's like shooting off fireworks and crap. And it's like
that first elite boat.
Yeah. I'm like, dude, they hit me once and wiped me out. And so anyway, I die. I've respawned back all the way back. I sail all the way back there.
Never ever respawn at the dock. Always pay the money to respawn.
I started doing that
because that starts you like literally less than a minute away from your wreck.
So I started doing that eventually.
And usually the guy who killed you will ignore you.
So what happened was
you don't have anything worth stealing
did pay the money to respawn closer to where that happened. They still spawned me a ways away. But I get back there. You're right. The big boat didn't attack me anymore. All the little boats did and wiped me out, and I lost everything. And I quit then. And I don't know if I'll go back and play again. Like, maybe you can tell me, like, how big of a setback is that?
Depends what you had on the boat.
I mean, I'd only been playing for 10 hours, so...
Probably not a whole lot. I mean, I had... I can just, if I go to one specific... Really, the only thing you need is ammo, which you don't lose when you die. And the only reason to keep commodities and crafting stuff around is to build the new upgrades. So, like, you don't need to keep the fine jute around or the bog iron after you've upgraded your ship beyond what needs that to be upgraded.
Okay.
So if you basically what you need to do is you go in and you decide what you want your next upgrade to be it a new ship or whatever new cannon or whatever thing you want to build. You track that, go over there, harvest the living shit out of the resources you need to make the thing that you need to craft that thing, and then do that.
Okay.
That's it.
So it sounds like it's not that big a deal.
Once I kind of really buckled down, was like, okay, I need to go find stuff and go do that. Like I had upgraded my ship from level 5 to level 9 in like 2 hours.
Wow!
Just because I didn't go deliver anything. I didn't do any quests. I just pin the thing to tracking for what I wanted to craft. And a new ship, in this case, a medium-sized ship. I went out. I already had a lot of that stuff, but I went out to where it was because I explored the whole map already, obviously, because I'm me. And a surprisingly little amount of stuff you need to uncover before the map just completely uncovers itself. But, like at one point I opened the map and all the fog of war was gone. It was just the whole map was revealed. I'm like, oh, when did that happen?
Oh, you didn't even realize it.
No, I didn't realize what happened. But I would say only like 60% of my map was uncovered when it did that. Like there's a whole section up north that I've never been to that was uncovered because they just let the whole map go.
Here's where a shark almost jumps on the boat.
Yeah. Also,
have you seen that?
Yeah. Oh yeah. But like also, all those sharks are listed as hammerhead sharks. None of the sharks are hammerhead sharks. Yeah. They are all normal sharks. I don't know what the hell that's about. Also, Faradol's talking about like you don't have to kill any sharks in this game.
No. Yeah.
That is an optional quest early on, or one of the requests people will make. You don't have to actually kill any sharks.
Don Lionheart, thank you for Twitch.
Matter of fact, I didn't understand you could kill sharks because the first thing.
Remember the B-roll we showed last week? You're like, oh crap.
The only time you can really interact with sharks forced that way is you have to go pick up some lost cargo, and the sharks are in the area and they'll attack you. And it wasn't until like an hour later that I realized that you could throw harpoons in that small ship, that small boat, and I'm like, oh, that's why I kept getting attacked by sharks and was like, what the fuck am I supposed to do? I can't dodge the sharks. What am I supposed to do? So, I got through it without killing any sharks until I took a quest where I was supposed to go get shark skins. And I thought they were going to actually give me shark skins to deliver, but it turns out there's just someone tells you, we want shark skins, and you have to go get shark skins and then bring them shark skins, which I think should be worth more than 100 silver.
Yeah, I would agree with that for sure. The economy in this is kind of stingy too.
Because the other thing is like those missions for the skins force you to switch back to that small starting boat.
Oh.
And like so you have to go to a port, switch to the small starting boat, offload all your cargo into the warehouses, which is really how I learned how the warehouse works.
Right.
I couldn't carry everything on the small boat, so I was like, I guess put it all in there. And then I take the small boat out, and you got to sail this tiny boat that goes like 4 knots all the way around the fucking island to kind of find the hippos, and and I'm just like, okay, I'm never doing that again because it's just not worth it.
Yeah.
Like I haven't killed an animal in like 25
you don't have to.
hours.
I mean, there are some missions that ask you to like get skins or whatever, but otherwise,
I just go buy those because it's easier to go buy them than it is to waste the time to switch to the small boat and sail all the way over to where the animals are and then sail all the way back and switch back to the other boat. Like, just buy them from somebody. Like, there's no reason to do the hunting missions in this.
But I will say, I enjoyed this more than I thought I would.
Yeah. I enjoy it more than it deserves.
Maybe
honestly.
that's a good way to put it, too.
Like, that's the only way I can put it. Like, I pretty much agree with that, like, 63, 64 Metacritic rating, but I really like it.
I would probably give it a little higher, I think, than a 63 or a 64.
I would if the combat had more heft in terms of the ending. If the boarding the ship wasn't just everybody pulls the thing in and you get like 5 extra gold. You know, it's just sort of dumb. Like,
but it is a satisfying loop. And again, it's different from all the other games that I play all the time. It's relaxing. It's enjoyable. Like, even my wife was like, you know, we went past a boat. You could hear like the other boat singing and everything.
Yeah,
and like
that's nice.
she perked up and she's like, "Oh, like that's beautiful." Like I was sailing over like crystal blue water. Like it's a different vibe.
When they go out in the open ocean, and it's just giant storms.
Yeah, and you can see them moving in like from like 100 yards away. You can see the clouds and like you're in sun, but you can see it's just like when you're standing on the beach and you can see a storm cloud.
There is a lot more. There's a better physics on the boats in this than in any of the Assassin's Creeds. I will say that.
That's true.
Although they do ride a little high in the water. But if you have like a mortar or a bombard weapon and you fire off from like a distance, if you get the range right and it hits that other, it comes down on that ship and the ship like rocks when you hit it. Like that's real satisfying. Like especially when you hit it far enough out that it's not aim assist, it's not turning the thing yellow, but you know how far your bombard flies. Well, once I learned that, I could fire it off and hit it like dead center on the deck, and it would miss its shot because I bounced it so hard. I'm like, that's great.
There are some great moments in this for sure. They have caught me off guard, and like again, I've enjoyed the game more than I thought I would. Even after all the delays and everything, Ubisoft still made a decent game.
Yeah, and like it's fun how it like kind of eases you into things. I think they do a pretty good job on that. Like learning, getting into the helm thing, into the black market stuff. The first because like one of the it's almost a side game where like you can gather different like stuff to make whiskey and stuff to make opium and stuff like that, and like that's like you craft that, and it takes a long time. Like you have to like basically throw it all in. It takes like an hour to craft all that, like while you're not doing other things, and you take various jobs to deliver them, and it's worth a lot of money and worth a lot of infamy, which is how you level yourself up to get more access to better equipment. But it does automatically send rogues after you, who are like kind of, because the idea is like the helm group is all rogues, and there's no rules about who can take what from whom. So you're basically you're going to get attacked by these red flagged pirates as you go do this. And so I hadn't really done a lot of fighting yet in that part of the game, and all of a sudden, just this quick run from the main town down to the bottom of the end of that other island to the west, I fought like 13 guys. Like they just kept coming because I made the rookie mistake of choosing all the missions at once because they all went to that same time. Like, I'll just do all 4 of these at once, which meant I was getting like everyone was doing the little telescope thing on me and seeing I was carrying valuable cargo, and every NPC ship in the whole game was coming at me, and like fights were breaking out between the French ships and the rogue ships because they'd hit each other by accident, and all of a sudden there was a fight between them. So I'm like, well, at least they're not shooting at me. Like, so that was like great trip. It took me like half an hour to get through all that, and then like you offload the cargo and everyone's like, well, he doesn't have it anymore, I guess we'll leave him alone. It's like so that was a lot of fun. Like it's good. It's not amazing, and it's like kind of just don't think about how long it took to make this game. It's just
play the game,
just play it, and like try not to judge the combat ending by Assassin's Creed. Like really, if you could board this ship and finish the captain, like do that whole thing, even if they just had a better cutscene than the quick pull, and like
because the cutscene is pretty crap.
It's just dumb. It just looks really bad.
It is,
It's just like give me a little more heft to that. That's about all I want from this.
So there you go. That's Skull and Bones. It is also only available for PC, PlayStation 5, and Xbox Series. I don't know if that's 2 thumbs up from us, but I think it's 2 encouraging ratings. Better than expected. It's
a mildly surprised, positive, tilted yar. Like
so are you gonna recommend it for our viewers, Matty?
It's better than that accent.
There you go. All right, there you go. That is Skull and Bones. Next up, we have our New York Sneaker Society Sneaker of the Week. But before we do that, check out their ad. What's up, everyone? Shane here, and one thing you may not realize about me is that I am a total sneakerhead. That's right. I've been collecting Nike sneakers since the early 90s. My favorites are Air Max 95 and Air Max 97. Now, one thing that's different about me from your typical sneakerhead is that I actually wear the sneakers. And because of that, they can get dirty. And that is where New York Sneaker Society comes in. Using their advanced shoe cleaning products, I turned an old pair of Nikes that looked like this into this. With their cleaning products, your sneaker life can go from a year to 5 or more. I know that. I have shoes that are like 30 years old that I still wear because I've cleaned them. You can also lower your carbon footprint, by keeping your kicks looking fresh. For my daily drivers, I also appreciate New York Sneaker Society's Refresh Spray to keep them smelling great and staying crisp. Head to nysneakersociety.co/sifted to clean your shoes like a pro at home and get 10% off your order. That's right, that's nysneakersociety.co/sifted for 10% off. So the first thing I want to say is that they sent me this awesome cleaning kit, and you saw me using it there in the ad or whatever, and I cleaned up one pair of shoes, and I was like, wow, like, those shoes look great, and I kind of written them off. And so this weekend, believe it or not, I had a little bit of extra time, and I started pulling old shoes out of the closet. And I was like, let's see what these cleaning things can do to these shoes. And I have now revived 3 pairs of shoes that I had completely written off that I would probably never wear again. Go to nysneakersociety.co/sifted. Get yourself an old kit. I guarantee you've got a couple old pairs of shoes that are just hanging out in your closet that are just in there and you think, I'll never wear them again. You buy a kit from New York Sneaker Society and use it. It literally takes like 5 minutes with their cleaning stuff. It will revive your shoes and make them look like they're new again. Now, Matt, to your point last week, if you wear out the soles, nothing you can do about that. Although I would say this, they may look new still.
Yeah.
Won't feel new to you.
They'll look good as long as you don't look under them.
Exactly. You don't sit with your feet up or whatever. So anyway, once again, go to nysneakersociety.co/sifted and pick yourself up a cleaning kit. You will not regret it. It literally will revive all your shoes you got just laying around that you thought you would never wear again. Now, moving on to our sneaker of the week. This was an easy pick this week. This is a game that Matt and I have been tracking for a while, and it's kind of flying under the radar. It shouldn't be, though. This is a game
I don't think it will be once it gets closer to release.
I don't either. Well, the reason it is our sneaker of the week is because they sent out preview code to a few select outlets, meaning GameSpot and IGN are really the only ones that got it, and they did previews of it that were glowing. And that game is Unicorn Overlord. Matt, you drafted this on your fantasy team, right?
Yep.
I have a feeling this is might be the game that kind of wins you the league this year, honestly. It is a turn-based strategy RPG from a studio called Vanillaware that doesn't put out its games as often as we would all like, but all their games are just stunners. They have this very unique house style of visuals in their games and their games look like no one else's.
Yeah, they kind of have a moving painting element.
Yeah. I am very excited for this game. I think it comes in March.
Yeah, March.
So it's not much longer to wait, just a few more weeks. This is another one of those hidden gems for 2024 you should keep your eye on. Also, I would recommend you follow this game on Sifted. Just search for Unicorn Overlord, go to its game page, click the little gear right next to the title on the game page, and select follow. And anything that we ever curate for this game will be pinned to the top of your Sift, so you won't miss any information on it. But the game is coming out here in a couple weeks. Information is going to start ramping up big time on this game. Matt and I are already excited for it. You should be too. Unicorn Overlord is our sneaker of the week. A big thanks to New York Sneaker Society for sponsoring that segment and for sponsoring GameFace. And with that, it's time to talk about our last game for episode 377. It's a game that I don't think you played, Matt, did you? I'm guessing no.
I forgot about that one.
Okay.
It's interesting that, like, to me, like, even though I'm, in the gamer bubble, no one I know talks about Nintendo stuff. Like, no one mentioned this game.
I was surprised, because so the game is Mario versus Donkey Kong. It is a Game Boy Advance game from 2004. I
do remember I played the original game.
Yeah, that has been completely redone for Switch. We're not going to spend a ton of time on it because it's a Switch exclusive and a smaller one, but I was shocked to see that it was the top-selling game in the UK this week. It outsold Helldivers 2, by the way, was number 7. Now, I get this, the charts, those UK charts are physical only, and obviously Helldivers 2 is mostly an online game, but I was surprised that it was at 7. But this game was number 1. Mario vs. Donkey Kong. So I was kind of surprised by that.
Nintendo owners tend to gravitate to the physical stuff no matter what anyway, so there is an advantage there too.
Yeah, I guess so. But anyway, it is a top-selling game in the UK. I can't say for good reason. I have enjoyed this game. Well, let me get through the discussion. I'll tell you whether you should pick it up or not. As I said, it's a GBA game from 2004. Basically, you're seeing the plot, if there really is one. Basically, there's these mini Mario toys that are the big hot thing that nobody can get a hold of. Everyone's pining for them. Nobody can get them. They're all sold out everywhere. Our boy Donkey Kong goes, and he takes all the remaining stock of the toys and runs off with the bag full of the toys. And then, of course, it's your job as Mario to go after Donkey Kong.
Mario really has extended himself too far.
You think? Now he's running a toy company?
What else can the man do?
So anyway,
it's like the Jeff Bezos of the Mushroom Kingdom at this point.
Yeah. So it's your job to get all the toys back, and that is laid out in the game. So basically, how the game is designed, there are 6 worlds in the game, and there were 6 in the original, and then 2 bonus worlds that are exclusive to this new version for Switch. So they've created 2 brand new worlds just for this. Within each of those 8 worlds, there are 6 levels that you have to complete. After you complete all 6 of those levels, first you play an extra level that's like a Lemmings type thing, where you have a bunch of the mini Marios that follow you around. You have to help them get to the end of the course, and then you have a boss fight with Donkey Kong that repeats pretty much the whole way through the game. And I will say this right off the bat, I finished this game in its entirety in like 3 hours.
Well, what you should really do is just file an insurance claim and continue production.
Yeah.
I mean, that's that. Although that might actually take longer than 3 hours, so maybe he is doing the right thing here.
Yeah. Here's what I really like about this game, though. Like, I'm an OG old gamer, as you guys know. I was birthed in the arcades. I spent my whole childhood in arcades. And what I love about this game is that it is built around the Donkey Kong arcade games. So there are tons of elements from the original Donkey Kong arcade game in this. The hammer, the song that plays when you use the hammer. There are tons of stuff from Donkey Kong Jr. in this, where you're using the vines to go back and forth, and you have like the 2 hands, and you can go up faster, or you can slide down faster if you have the 2 hands. I like that they're bringing back some of these old elements from these classic arcade games and putting them in this game. Now, again, this is a remake of a game from 2004, so maybe I shouldn't be giving Nintendo too much credit for that, but it was nice to go back and kind of experience some of those elements that I haven't really rubbed elbows with for a really long time. Now, the objective of each level is twofold. So there's 2 screens you have to work through. On the first screen, the objective is to, and you're seeing here, is you need to pick up a gold key and then take it to the lock. And that's pretty much all you need to do. However, as you can see, looking at this B-roll, there's all kinds of obstacles and things that go in your way. There's switches that you can flip that make some barriers and platforms appear or disappear. You have to figure all that stuff out, ultimately, to get the key to that lock and put the key in. Now, the second one is you are collecting the actual toy. The only objective for the second screen is just to get that mini Mario toy. Now, across both screens, there are presents. You can see in the top left there in the B-roll that there are presents to collect. And sometimes there's 2 on the first screen and 1 on the second. Sometimes there's 1 on the first and 2 in the second. But if you want to get a perfect score, you need to collect both the key and the mini Mario and all the presents. And that's where the game gets a little bit more challenging. But overall, my biggest criticism of this, other than its length, and they're kind of tied together, is the difficulty. Most of these missions, you play them the first time, you usually get through them. If not, pretty much guaranteed you're going to get through on the second try. Now, this game also has a cooperative element that you can play with your kids or the younger ones in your family, and there is a separate mode for that. Like, there's an easy mode in addition to the normal mode, which already is way too easy. So I managed to breeze through this game in like no time. I was a little disappointed in how quickly the game ended. There are extra things that unlock at the end. Like there are challenges that are like a lot more difficult. There's a time attack mode if you want to perfect your skills or whatever. But for the most part, once you play through all of these once, you've kind of played through them already. And I kind of struggled to find a lot of the replay value. Now, another thing about this is you have one-hit deaths. So if Mario gets hit, like, he can get hit once, and then the second time he dies. But for a lot of this stuff in this, if you hit an enemy once, you die. And again, thank God the game is really easy because there's some wonky-ass stuff in this game. So one of the big problems I came across is if you're climbing up or down a ladder, and say you climb up and there's a platform there, and you want to get off the ladder and go on the platform, it hardly ever works the way it's supposed to. Another big component of this game is picking up stuff and throwing it. You can pick up trash cans, you can throw it at enemies, and it'll kill the enemies, and then eventually they respawn. Or you can pick up the enemies themselves. And the game does a bad job of messaging some of this stuff. Like, the first time you try it, a lot of times, it fails, which tells you, oh, that's not what I'm supposed to be doing. The couple times I did get stuck in this game, it was because I was trying to pick up something like an animal or whatever, and it wouldn't let me pick it up, and it kept killing me. And I was like, oh, I guess I don't need to pick up the animal. As it turns out, I did need to pick up the animal. And the game doesn't do a great job of showing you how to do that stuff. Now, once I did, it was very easy. I'm like, oh, I need to pick up this animal, throw him into the spike pit so I can jump on top of him and not land on the spikes and make it across the platform. That's kind of how this whole game works and how the whole game is set up. So, again, the challenge, severely lacking in this game, but I do think it's a good game for younger players. It will make them think. It will help them with their critical thinking skills. I think it's a good game to play with your kids to help them sort their way through these puzzles. None of them are so difficult that you'll be like, I don't know what to do. I can't tell my kid how to get through this. You'll be able to tell them how to get through, and they'll think you're a genius. So as I said, 8 different worlds, 6 missions per world. You complete all 6, and you play the lemmings, and then you play the boss fight. The 2 extra new worlds that they built for this are called the Merry Mini Land, and the second one is called Slippery Summit. No surprise, Slippery Summit is basically the ice world, and it is kind of cool how that world relies on you learning how to use the physics and the momentum in the game to run and then duck and slide like underneath platforms and things like that. I would honestly argue that the 2 new worlds in this were probably the best in the game. Probably not a surprise, actually. All that time to kind of think about the design and everything like that. As I said, there's 2-player co-op. There's a really easy mode. If you get a gold star on some missions and you keep going through the missions, eventually, like, sometimes things will pop up on the one where you got the gold rating. You can go back and there's like this little mini game that you play that give you a bunch of extra lives. I got to the end of this game, I had like 80 extra lives. It's not a problem, but those mini games do pop up if you need to find some more if you are having problems and you don't have enough lives left. The controls, as I said, there's some issues with them. The jumping in this is weird. It's like this, you can jump, but it's like this pre-canned thing. Like, first you do a handstand, and then you do one jump, and then you tap the jump button again, and then he'll do like a higher jump. But it's all like predetermined and hard to control. Like, I don't know why they wouldn't just give you typical Mario controls in this.
Because it's Donkey Kong.
Yeah, I guess.
That's why. That's how he jumps in Donkey Kong.
No, you're right, actually. Like, that is one of the... Also, in the original Donkey Kong, remember, it was hard sometimes to figure out if you had got to the top of the ladder and you were able to start going horizontal.
Yeah, you had to wait for him to do his, like, little bend over.
Right, his little thing. So some of those elements have transferred over into this. For those people who don't know what the OG Donkey Kong was like, you may be like, WTF, what the hell is this stuff? And then there are some levels, Matt, that are just like mean-spirited. I don't understand why level designers do this sometimes. Where the level starts and you get good at it, you've maybe tried it once or twice, and so you know exactly what you need to do, and you try to run as quickly as you can. They time like the fireballs from enemies to like perfect. Why? Why do games do that? It's like they should reward you for getting better at the game and knowing what you're supposed to do. Instead, they're like, nope. You're going to have to stand on this ladder, wait for the fireball to go, and then you can go up. Like, there's all kinds of stuff like that in this.
It's called design for the speed run.
It is kind of, I guess. I don't know. I found it really annoying. But again, despite all its quirks and issues, once you get the hang of it, most of the missions, you're going to finish it in the first or second try. It does, I will say this too, it doesn't evolve as much as I would like over time. Like, it felt like it got easier as it went, as you kind of got used to what the game expects from you and what the parameters were and what you could and couldn't do. It actually kind of got easier as it went on, which I found was a little weird. Obviously, it's a huge upgrade over the Game Boy Advance original. Like, there's no comparison between the two. Everything about it looks better, sounds better. Everything about it is better. There's cinematics now. In the GBA game, they were just still screens with, like, text. Now, obviously, they have the full CG cinematics to move the story forward. It is vastly superior in every conceivable way to the GBA game from 2004. So now it comes to the question, should I buy it? And I would say the only people who should buy this game are people with kids. Playing this, it's almost insulting at times how simple this game is if you play it by yourself. You play with your kids, though, I think you're going to get different rewards from the game that you wouldn't get if you're playing it by yourself. And I think this is a good game for kids to play. It helps them with, like, their deduction skills and their critical thinking skills, puzzle-solving skills. All that stuff is important in life. And so I would recommend this. If you have a kid that you like to play games with, I think this is a good purchase. I think your kid will love it, and I think you'll love playing it with your kid. However, I would not recommend it as a purchase if you plan on playing it just by yourself. Any questions about it, Matt?
No, for $50. That's
yeah, it's a little steep. Yeah, I see in chat everyone's talking about how it's $50. Vincent says, related to that, thoughts on Peach essentially being a kid's game according to the previews. Did you see that today? The Princess Peach previews went up today?
Some of it.
And it does look like it's a very simple game.
Yeah, it doesn't super surprise me.
Yeah.
But
we kind of had no idea what that game was, really. Mm-hmm. So am I surprised? A little bit. I didn't get that vibe from it when I saw the trailers, but yeah. Link So Good says Nintendo should have remade Donkey Kong 94.
64.
No. A lot of people don't like Donkey Kong 64.
I hate Donkey Kong 64.
A lot of people hate it, yeah.
Although I will say, one of my main problems with Donkey Kong 64 is the render distance. Mm-hmm. Like, you can't see the bananas. Yeah. Like, you can see the level, but you can't see the bananas.
They appear as you get closer, yeah.
And I'm like, that's
a deal breaker, kind of.
You can't do that. Like, I can't see that there's a thing there I need to get. What the fuck are you doing? It's that and the switching between the different apes to, like, get the different... Like, there's 500 bananas in every level.
I had one banana left to get.
Hate.
I have 99.9999999% of Donkey Kong 64
that is,
done.
like, Donkey Kong 64 is the pinnacle of Rare's hubris.
Collectathon, whatever.
The Collectathon hubris. Where it's like, you thought I was going to fucking do that?
Like, and a lot of people did. I did.
Make it through Banjo-Tooie.
Guilty. Yeah. I played Banjo-Tooie out the ass, too.
I played Tooie way more than Donkey Kong.
Yeah.
I mean, I also don't like Donkey Kong as a character very much. Like, I have no affection for him or Yoshi. Yeah. Like, the animals in the Mario series do not do anything for me.
Yeah.
The only good thing about Donkey Kong 64 is the DK rap.
Yeah, which is pretty good. Which I thought about using for our next segment, which is, of course... That's right. It's Name That Game Tune, brought to you by SoundWizardry.com. If you have any audio needs, no matter what you're working on, what you're doing, if you need audio that needs fixed, you have audio that needs created, you have audio that needs to be punched up or improved, they can do it all. As I've said before, they have fixed horrible... I may need to get SoundWizardry.com to fix this episode of GameFace after what's happened today with the TriCaster. We'll see. But that's what they can do. They can rescue audio that you need fixed. They can do so many things. They can do it all. Go to SoundWizardry.com. Again, impeccable resume, working on some of the biggest games in the industry. If you're a publisher or a developer watching this, you should absolutely hook those guys up on your next project. But anyway, now on to the fun. Name That Game Tune. I play you 5 samples from a video game. It could be music. It could be sound effects. You don't know until you hear them. And you try to guess the name of the game. And Matt, there's some headphones for you right there. So in the past 2 weeks, you guys just played against each other. This time you're playing against Matt Kyle. And the cord isn't very long, unfortunately. And I wish you luck. That's all I gotta say. I have a feeling Matt is gonna get these no problem. And look, if it is a case, Matt, where this is too easy for you, we may go back to just let them play against each other. Because I don't want it so that you're winning every time. And I don't think Sound Wizardry does either. No. They want people to win.
I get to the point where I'm just like, I know it. Well, I'll just say I know it.
Yeah, you could do that too.
We'll see how it goes.
You know what you could do? Write it down.
Oh, yeah, that's a good idea.
Write it down on a piece of paper. When you think you know what it is.
Or you want to just see how it goes?
Okay, we'll see how it goes. Give me the pen back, Matt. The power of the pen. A couple things to keep in mind. when you're playing Name That Game Tune. First of all, you can only win once per calendar year. That's not a big deal now because hardly anyone has won this year. But as the year goes on, it does matter. You can only win once per calendar year. So if you have one, don't play. In fact, the person who won last week, Eric Cartmenez, do not play. The other thing is you must play PC games because the winner of this gets a free PC game download code. So if you're not going to play PC games or you don't know somebody that you can give the code to, and that's totally fine if you want to do that, don't play. Because we want to give the prize to somebody who will actually use the code. And then finally, the chat goes on to slow mode whenever we play, which means you can only send one chat every 60 seconds. So do not spam the chat with a bunch of game titles hoping that you guess it correctly. You're going to guess it wrong probably, and then you're going to be able to know what it is, and it's going to be too late. You're not going to be able to put your guess in. So only guess when you think you know what it is. Otherwise, you could end up burning yourself. Okay, Matt, let me turn up you're going to hear me now, but let me turn up the headphones for you. Is that a good level for you? More?
Too low, more.
More? How about that? Is that good?
That's good.
Okay.
Maybe a little more.
All right, I'll give you a little bit more of a bump. How about that?
That's good.
Okay. So here we go. We're ready for... Oh, what happened to... Oh, we lost our net input. Just give me 1 second. Got to get you guys back into the game here. When our TriCaster closed, we lost the connection with you guys. So let me get you back into the show here. Just take me 1 second. This is one thing that I don't have to take a ton of time to do. And there you guys are. Okay. Are you ready, Matt, for the first piece of sound for Name That Game? Are y'all ready? Here we go. Here is the first sound effect for this week's edition of Name That Game Tune, brought to you by SoundWizardry.com. Here we go.
I know it.
Let's see if we get any guesses from this. We'll give you guys a little bit of time. It's hard. Like, I feel like the first sound effect is harder than the first image when we used to use screenshots for this.
Galaga is a good guess.
But they just got it. Yeah. That's hilarious. That's it. You just won. You guys are just too damn good. That's crazy. A lot of people got that.
Yep. It's funny, like I know, like once they said that, I was like, oh yeah, it's Galaga.
Yeah.
But it was
that first note is so like something you don't hear normally when you play it, but the sound is
but it's like it was funny, like I heard it and I could smell it. Like I could smell
the arcade
an
cabinet
from that. Like I know that's an 80s game because I can smell it. But I couldn't remember exactly which one. It's one of those sounds you could hear in the background of an arcade all the time.
Yeah, I mean, I'm god tier at Galaga. One of my favorite arcade games. I don't think I would have picked it up from that first one.
No, I didn't. Like I knew the era, but I didn't know what a game it was.
Well, here's the second one. You can hear these get more obvious as we go.
I guess I should.
Here's the third one. Here's the fourth one. That one giveaway. Well, here's the fifth one is the dead giveaway.
It's the same one.
Was it the same? I think they're different.
I don't know if those are different versions. I mean, it's the same.
Those are labeled as different in the soundtrack anyway.
I mean, I think one's a slightly different. There's like a more of a reverb on the second one, but it's the same tune.
Yeah. Well, there you go. That's Name That Game Tune for episode 377. Let me go and see who actually got it first, because you guys, a bunch of people guessed it very quickly right away. Minority Games, congratulations. You are the winner of Name That Game Tune for episode 377 of GameFace. Great job. I was surprised that I really didn't think anybody would get it off of the first one. And I'll be honest with you, at this point, I have no clue how much time we have left in the show.
Well, it's 4:25, so
it sounds like we're pretty much wrapped up right now. Mm-hmm. Yeah, we probably don't have time for Q&A, unfortunately. Sorry, party people. I do want to say thanks to you guys, though, for sticking around through our technical difficulties. So we had people to play Name That Game Tune with. I was really afraid that we wouldn't be able to do it, but you guys stuck around. We appreciate it very much. As always, you guys are awesome in chat. fact-checking us, making sure we don't have to do like a, hey, we screwed up last episode on this stuff thing that a lot of other podcasts do. You guys check us in real time, and we bring you right into the show. So much love and a bunch of thanks for you guys for sticking around and making the show. JM Rain dropping some tier 1 subs at the last minute into our audience, basically rewarding the people who stuck around to the end of the show. That is awesome, man. Thank you so much. And I'm sure our users appreciate that as well. So we'll be back next week. I'm hoping the TriCast... It seems like everything worked okay at the end here. I don't know.
It seems like it was just a bum.
I think it was a bad clip. I've never seen the TriCaster do that, but I am very relieved. Let me just tell you. So we'll go back. We'll assemble the show. The people who watch this archive are probably going to be wondering what the heck we're talking about because it will look like nothing happened, but man, stuff happened. So thanks again, guys, for being patient and waiting while we broke down the stream to get everything fixed, and thanks for sticking around to play Name That Game Tune. If you're watching this show on YouTube or you're listening to it out on any of the podcast services, and it is on all of them, please consider heading to patreon.com/sifted and give us a pledge. As we mentioned in last week's episode, we're going through some financial things right now with our credit card processor. We could be about to get hit with huge fines and charges. Every little bit helps. I would say go to our donation portal. That's still not back up. In fact, that's probably not going back up until like the end of March. Because we just want to make sure that everything is locked down hardcore before it goes back up, and we open up portals where people could try to jump in. So if you could go to patreon.com/sifted, that would be awesome. If you can't do that, review the show on the podcast service that you're listening to it on right now. Go and give us a 5-star review. Talk about how awesome GameFace is. It makes a huge difference for us. And if you're on YouTube, like the show, subscribe if you're not subscribed already. All that stuff helps. There's a ton of stuff you can do for us, even if you don't give us any money, that we appreciate very much. You can help us out with Twitch Prime. If you're watching on YouTube, go down in the description down below. You can figure out how to do all that stuff. There's so many ways you can help us, even if you don't have any money, and we appreciate all of it. So thanks again, everybody. We'll see you guys next Tuesday. GameFace is up and out.